10th Foundation Day celebrations of Solar Energy Corporation of India. We welcome everyone today to the stakeholders meeting that we are beginning now. So as we begin the proceedings for the day, may I please take the opportunity of inviting our esteemed guests, our honorable dignitaries who have joined us here on our humble request. May I begin by requesting and inviting Chairperson, Central Electricity Regulatory Commission, Shri Jishnu Barua ji, to kindly please join us on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, please join hands in welcoming Shri Jishnu Barua on the dais. We also welcome Secretary Designate MNRE, Shri Prashant Kumar Singh ji, to kindly please join us on the dais. Prashant Kumar Singh ji ke liye zordar taaliyan. We invite Chairperson, Central Electricity Authority, Shri Ghanshyam Prasad ji, to take his place on the stage. Zordar taaliyon ke saath abhinandan, Shri Ghanshyam Prasad ji. And we welcome our Chairman and MD, Solar Energy Corporation of India, Shri R.P. Gupta ji, to please grace us with his presence on the dais. A big round of applause for all our dignitaries. Very soon, we'll also be joined by CGM CTU, Shri Ashok Pal Singh ji, who is on his way and will be here shortly. जैसे कि हमारे देश की परंपरा है, किसी भी शुभ कार्य को हमेशा हम ईश्वर के नाम के साथ शुरू करते हैं. We always light the ceremonial lamp and seek the presence of the Almighty. Ladies and gentlemen, may I please request our honorable dignitaries seated on the dais to kindly light the ceremonial lamp and begin light and wisdom in our lives. Let there be light, let there be wisdom and knowledge in our lives. And we all take the right decisions at the right time, benefiting one and all. ये यात्रा है अंधकार से प्रकाश की ओर, अज्ञान से ज्ञान की ओर और प्राणी से परमात्मा की ओर. Can we have a louder applause as we are beginning with the day, ladies and gentlemen? We need some energy for this beautiful, positive start. Thank you very much. In order to welcome our august gathering today and also to set the context for this meeting, may I please invite our Chairman and MD, Solar Energy Corporation of India, Shri R.P. Gupta ji, to kindly please address the gathering. Please join hands in welcoming Shri R.P. Gupta ji.
Shri Jishnu Barua, Chairman CRC, Shri Prashant Kumar Singh, Secretary Designate and OSD MNRE, Shri Ghanshyam Prasad, Chairman CEA, our guests from state regulatory commissions, the developers, the investors and financiers, all who are our colleague and stakeholder in this sector. Friends, I take this pleasure of welcoming you all on our 13th Foundation Day. This particular year is very special for us. Only few days back, we have been granted Navratna status. We have been I presume, very effective tool of the government, MNRE, in carrying out the mandate which was given to them by Honorable Prime Minister, and they gave it to us. I will not be incorrect if I say that the schemes which we introduced, the product which we introduced, the processes and transparent system which we introduced, that has had immense impact in taking the sector to the extent which has come so far. And we are very happy that our processes, tenders, bids, they have been adopted and conducted by many of the states, which we are very happy about, other REIAs, and many other organizations. When SECI was formed, the confidence of investors and developers and the final off-takers, that are the state discoms, except for few, the confidence was not so much that they will be getting the payment on time. Their issues would be solved. And in that background, SECI was formed. We provided the confidence, the trust, and they came to believe, and it has come true, that their issues would be sorted out in a very amicable and fair and just manner. Their payments would be guaranteed. And that led to the development of the sector and the investors reposing faith in India RE growth story. We are very happy that the discoms are strengthening. Their financial position has improved tremendously, and they are carrying out their own auctions and getting the good response. An organization like SECI, probably in a developed and mature market where the contracts are honored, where the issues are sorted out, probably would not have existed. And as time go by, more and more states and discoms, they become financially strong. Our role to that extent as intermediary would, to some extent or large extent, we hope that it will be large extent, would come down. But RE story has just begun. We are only about 200 gigawatt of capacity so far in RE. Our journey is far longer, about 2000 gigawatt by 2047. 500, of course, is very well known by 2030. So there is going to be not the status quo, but tremendous change in it. The new technologies would be introduced. Some of the technologies which we don't even see on the horizon, they would have to be introduced, they will have to be commercialized. The new product in RE would have to be designed and given to the market. And in achieving our net zero target, there are a number of new things which will have to be done. It is not a stable sector like conventional energy. There is churning, there is going to be more and more of churning, and we have to rapidly adapt to that. Ultimately, what we have to ensure is that the energy transition story that benefits the consumer ultimately, and we are able to make green power available to our masses at assured, accessible, and at affordable rates. That is the ultimate goal. And in this, we are all one together, all stakeholders, whether it is central or state government, whether it is the regulatory commissions at the state and central level, the developers, the investors, the financiers. Ultimately, everybody is having the same goal. So on this day when we are celebrating our Foundation Day, I again welcome you all, and we thought that let all persons who are having a stake in this sector, they come together. We hear each other's views, because at times the interests of the discoms seemingly are not aligned with the interest of the developers or the investors and the financial institutions. And our purpose is, we are basically matchmaker of the developers, the investors and the discoms. How well we can play our role, that will be guided by the discourse today. So again, I welcome you all today and hope that the discussion today will lead us and lead SECI and other REIAs to help us function better and overall fostering the growth of this sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your perspectives with all of us. And thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, views, and ideas as we kickstart the proceedings for this day. Ladies and gentlemen, moving further, may I now please request and invite Secretary Designate Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Shri Prashant Kumar Singh ji, to kindly please address us and also please share his thoughts on this momentous day. Welcoming you, sir. Zordar तालियों के साथ अभिनंदन.
Shri R.P. Gupta, Chairman SECI, Shri Jishnu Barua, Chairman CERC, Shri Ghanshyam Prasad, Chairman CEA, my dear friend and batsman, Mr. Alok, who is sitting in the audience, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations, first of all, to SECI for their 13th Foundation Day, and secondly, for acquiring the Navratna status. The good part is the journey for Maharatna has just begun. And I'm sure that in the days to come, we'll see SECI grow from strength to strength. It is a very efficient and agile organization. From what I have learned so far, I'm still on the learning curve. I'm trying to understand the sector. Though I'll say I'm not new to RE sector, but yes, it's a huge amount of learning that is required. It's a good system in the government that they post you about 15-20 days or a month in advance. You get to know the system and the things, the nuances better, and you can start functioning from the first day. I have just come back from the RE Invest at Gandhinagar. Honorable Prime Minister made a very smart statement there while he was ending his speech in front of the global audience. He said that, look, the seriousness of the government in a RE sector is such that I brought the minister from coal to MNRE. So that is the change in the mindset. I also wanted to share with you that I am also from steel to petroleum to MNRE now. So I have seen the hard to abate sectors, and I think it is in the right direction. So that's why I said I'm not new to the energy sector. But then yes, RE is a different ball game altogether. The targets given to all of us know 500 gigawatt by 2030. Personally, I feel it's very achievable. I think we'll do it before that. It was given, but we did it in 6 years only, 9 years before the targeted year. So things are moving very fast. I always believe that this is a sector which will grow very fast. All the bottlenecks automatically get removed. It's like an avalanche effect. Once things start moving the right direction, automatically it all starts falling in place. And yes, RE is the answer. There is no doubting this fact globally now. People are trying to come up with innovations by the day. Every day we hear of something new coming up on the horizon. And we hope that organizations like SECI and others who are engaged in this, and the developers and the private sector, they'll all be, in sync with the developments and carry forward with the changes fast. So I once again congratulate SECI. As sir said, matchmaker. So you are the Shadi.com of the RE sector. You bring them together, but then you have a major responsibility because the contracts which happen should always fructify properly and they should be rolled out in time. I look forward to working with SECI and all of you, and I wish you all the best once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for addressing us today. And as you rightly said, that the journey for Maharatna has just begun, and we all are excited to take on that journey. Thank you very much for your wishes. Ladies and gentlemen, now we'll be requesting Chairperson Central Electricity Authority, Shri Ghanshyam Prasad ji, to address us and share his thoughts. Let's welcome Shri Ghanshyam Prasad ji.
Good morning to everyone. Shri R.P. Gupta ji, CMD SECI, Shri Singh, OST to as Secretary to MNRE, Jishnu Barua ji, Chairperson CERC, Energy Secretaries of the states. I can see the regulators, I can see equipment manufacturer, BHEL, financer as World Bank. And I think you have rightly gathered all these stakeholders who are required to be present on this particular occasion. Good to grow. And I think in the previous one I had mentioned something different. But today I will definitely say that the SECI is entering into the teenage. It's the start of 13th year. You are growing and you have to grow and grow further. If I recall correctly, when we started the journey somewhere around 2009, 8, 9 and all, when RE was just trying to kick in, and we were in Ministry of Power, we were all apprehensive how it is going to get integrated, what will happen if it gets integrated. Everybody was worried about its variability, about its uncertainty, about its everything. We made a huge task force. We even took the international people also on board to study the system, to recommend what is going to happen on to when RE starts getting integrated into the electricity grid. The confidence came after the LBNL gave the report in somewhere in 2011 and 12, and which we started implementing. We had good round of discussions with states, DESCOMs, developers, regulators, and most important, the grid operators, who were apprehending the nuances of the RE when it is supposed to be integrated, and integrated on a large scale. That was another area of concern. And we brought out one very good report of large scale integration of renewables, wherein, if I recall correctly, there were 21 points which was mentioned as an action point, and we kept on implementing those action points as we went along. Then came the era of, okay, how do we really see that these starts getting integrated once we build up the confidence from the study part. Then we said, okay, let there be policies, firmness in the policy, regulatory space. We started building up the guidelines, and the guidelines started with plain vanilla solar. Then we bought wind. Couldn't work. Then we said, okay, why don't we go for hybrid, that is wind and solar together. Still it didn't work. Then we said, okay, why don't we go for RTC type of a construct, wherein we bring the coal also into it, and we first construct, if I recall correctly, was RERTC with coal-based power plants. It didn't work because it was not totally green. Then we said, okay, why don't we go for complete RERTC? Then we said, okay, another construct changed to FDRE. Another construct which is now changing is, can we have a peaking power itself, not going for the 24/7 at all. Which concept is good, which concept is bad, is the DISCOMs who is to decide, depending on his portfolio that they are trying to manage. But then, these are the evolutions. I am just trying to mention it because these are the evolutions that has happened into the particular sector. And SECI had been a part and parcel of this entire evolutions. Each guidelines that I used to make, I used to definitely, one person whom I used to consult was SECI, other than the other stakeholders who really came forward and tried to be a partner in the policy development from the Ministry of Power point of view. We kept on this journey. Then came the situation when we started adding up in bulk and tried to accelerate the pace of development of RE. When this started happening, then we found that there are certain grid related issues, and then we had to address those as well, which I think probably CRC may like to address to those concerns. And we are still on the path of learning. People keep on saying that we are changing it so fast, so often, but then once the problem is there, we need to sort it out as quickly as possible, and probably that's the mantra in which we'll have to proceed further. And the sector being dynamic, I'll say that we need to align ourselves as quickly as possible. Particularly if I mention, which CMD SECI also mentioned about the payment aspect of it. The moment we realize that there is going to be a huge amount of backlog of the payment of dues, and which is pushing back the investors, we said we need to address this particular aspect as quickly as possible. SECI has its own payment security mechanism, but probably that was not enough. So we've brought it another payment security mechanism through the rules, which was notified under the late payment surcharge rules, and probably that has done wonders. And all the payments are now being made to the RE developers, not only the RE developers, but probably entire sector, maybe other than the state-owned generating stations, but otherwise probably the things are falling in line. Those some of the amendments that is required in those construct also we are trying to mention it. What I'm trying to say is we need to see through the entire spectrum and pain points of any stakeholders needs to be addressed as early as possible. So moving from that, because the people said about the non-availability of transmission lines in a given time frame, we try to address that as well. We try to change the construct of planning of transmission line, execution of transmission line, and going for so and so forth. I think in RE Invest also I mentioned this particular aspect is going forward, because there are going to be some pockets in the country, particularly Rajasthan, Alok is also sitting here, that area will be flooded with particularly solar development and maybe combined RE together. Since it is going to be a bulk area where the bulk power is going to be generated, we have to look this from a different perspective from the security point of view as well going forward. So those things needs to be again built in, and number of transmission line that will try to come from that particular area is again going to be a challenge. How do we address this? How do we really see that there is an optimization? We need to innovate the concept of again transmission planning as well, which we are trying to do. You'll very soon find that we'll try to have some different construct, particularly for those areas which are going to be congested. From the grid perspective, definitely those areas will have to be dealt with separately, so that at least we don't fall short of security aspect of it. And going forward, the cyber security definitely is another issue. From the load side, because this has to be evacuated for a particular purpose, and maybe going forward for green hydrogen, green ammonia, or data centers, or such type of applications, probably we'll have to realign these as well. Coming to the manufacturing side, definitely we also need to see that there is a supply chain which is good enough to sustain this kind of a development. And the challenge is not only the supply chain, but the challenge is that these equipments are available at a reasonable cost, so that the tariff of power coming from solar and wind is probably kept at a reasonable level. So good to see the entire stakeholders here, and whatever support that will be required in terms of regulatory and the policy making, maybe from CA or from all these aspects, we will be more than happy to get associated with all these stakeholders. Once again, wishing all the best to SECI to grow from now Navratna state to Maharatna, and wishing all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your thoughts with us this morning, and for giving us your well wishes as well. Ladies and gentlemen, as we move further, may I please now invite to the dais Shri Ashok Palji, Deputy COO from Central Transmission Utility, to please join us and also address us. Please join your hands for welcoming Shri Ashok Palji. बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन, बहुत बहुत स्वागत, और आपका मंच पर अभिनंदन करते हैं और साथ साथ आपसे निवेदन करते हैं कि 2 शब्द आप.
Thank you, respected Chairman SECI, Chairperson CRC, OSD to MNRE, Chairperson CEA, and all the officers, dignitaries here. So from as a CTU, we undertake the transmission system of interstate transmission system, building up interstate transmission system. So as Chairperson CA was saying, so if we go back, because I am here in this sector for so many years, so we started earlier days, the planning was mainly for the conventional powers, and that too mainly NTPC, NHPC generating stations, where we used to plan the evacuation system, and thereafter came the Electricity Act, the modification of Electricity Act in 2003, and then the regulation by CERC, open access regulation, and then the private sectors came up. The whole sector changed a lot, and we had to deal for the open access to the private sector generations. And then in I think 2016-17 time, then the impact on RE generation that came up. And because earlier we are interacting only Ministry of Power, we didn't interact much with MNRE or SECI. But then when the new era came that we have to put stress on RE integration, then the procedure for RE integration came up. It's a separate procedure in addition to the regulation which were there in the open access regulation, just for integration of RE. And from then onwards, we started interacting with MNRE. And then we found a lot of issues for getting the evacuation of RE power. Initially, the projects which were getting LOA from SECI, they used to have a time of 18 months. And 18 months after the LOA, and then when they used to come to us, hardly they were left with 12, 13 months. And whereas our planning and implementation system takes about 3 to 4 years time. So there was a huge gap in that, and that gave us a lot of problem. And when we found that, we thought that how to cope up this problem. Then I think at that time we formed a working group involving CA, SECI and C2, and we used to sit every month just to see how we'll take up the projects. Thereafter we thought that we have to plan it before, and we started collecting the potentials, and SECI, I think they really worked hard to find out the initial potentials of various centers all over the India. And thereafter it came, the list of the potential centers came, and then CA came out with a report. C2 and CA combined together, they came out with the report of 500 gigawatt evacuation. So with that, we could have addressed to some extent of the time gap which was there. And eventually SECI also modified that 18 months to 24 months. So somewhere they have modified their time length, and we have also planned it before with our report on the basis of potentials. So could manage the time gap. Initial few years, we know that we had faced a lot of problem, and there were various criticisms everywhere that we are not able to give the transmission system matching with the generation projects. But now I think everybody has come to some alignment that, okay, this is the possible transmissions timeline, this is the possible, and the generation should also be aligned with this timeline. Initially, I think most of our projects which we used to process that were through the SECI route and SECI LOA basis, and most of these projects has already been commissioned. But now the issue is that if you say that 500 gigawatt target, out of this 500 gigawatt, we say that under ISTS there should be 230 gigawatt. But till date we have processed about 260 to 270 gigawatt applications which are already granted open access or under process. So far as ISTS is concerned, we have gone ahead of that 500 gigawatt target that we can say. And every month at least 15 to 17 gigawatt applications are coming. So it's a huge thing, and in the first 100 days of this government, uh, we have approved, I think NCT has approved 50 gigawatt of projects. So it's a huge thing, and we are going ahead like this. So issues are that, main issues, 2-3 issues if you can say. That is that some areas which are getting hugely concentrated. So like Rajasthan and Khabra. Rajasthan already we have got an application of about 100 gigawatt for ISTS interconnection. Khabra already 30 gigawatt and another 12 gigawatt is coming up. So adding these two is becoming 150 and more will be coming. So in few days time this will be about 200 gigawatt, which will be supplying the all India load of about 350 gigawatt, which we are expecting 2030 time. So 350 gigawatt, out of 350 gigawatt, 200 gigawatt will be supplying from a certain area of Rajasthan and Khabra, which is very nearby. So it is creating a lot of unbalance. So what we want that for better techno-economical distribution, the RE should be distributed all over the India. In the concentrated area evacuation, the transmission cost is becoming very high, but it is not getting reflected on the generation projects because it is now getting socialized in all over India. But one thing is that because we are now resorting to HVDC for Rajasthan and Khabra. So in last few months we have seen that the application for the northern region has come down, and instead the western region and southern region application has increased, which is a very good sign. This is one aspect, and second aspect, already ministry has come out with that policy, and CRC is working on that to utilize the non-solar hours connectivity, because we have the whole transmission system in place. Already there is a provision in the CRC regulation that any generator can add additional generator, keeping the connectivity quantum same, utilizing the same transmission system. But special bidding for non-solar hours, so that is under discussion, and which will be predominantly using the storage and other, say, wind and storage and combination of that. We had some discussion few days back where chairperson Chairman SECI took the initiative, and we had discussed regarding the same. I think with that introduction of storage, because unless we do that, and if we constantly increase the renewables, then the time will come where we have to curtail the renewable during the daytime, unless you store something to supply that power in the evening time. So so storage is the very much essential now to come to address the situation in the 2027-28 scenario, because when we do the rolling plan, our rolling plan report is there in our website 5 years ahead. We find that without the storage, it will not be possible to manage the grid, supplying the load during the peak solar time as well as the evening time, because the conventional power becomes very less. So these are the issues, but one positive thing is that we are getting constant applications, and there are so many RE projects that are coming up. The other generation application, other region applications are increasing, so those are the positive points. And so with that, I want to congratulate SECI for this 13th Foundation Day, and also getting the Navaratna status. So best wishes and congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for those words of wisdom. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, as we move further, may I now request Chairperson Central Electricity Regulatory Commission, Shri Jishnu Barua ji, to kindly please address us. Please join your hands in welcoming Shri Jishnu Barua.
CMD SECI, Mr. R.P. Gupta, Mr. P.K. Singh, Secretary Designated MNRE, Mr. Ghanshyam Prasad, Chairperson CEA, Mr. Pal, Deputy CEO, C2, my fellow regulators, two of them are present here today, Mr. Ravi Kumar and Mr. Alok Tandon, and other dignitaries of the dais. At the outset, I would like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to SECI for being awarded the Navaratna status. And this is a very significant milestone in the journey which was started. It's even a milestone for SECI in this journey which had started 13 years ago. This is a commendable achievement in that it underscores the corporation's vital contribution to India's renewable energy journey. I also take this opportunity to convey my best wishes to SECI for a brighter and more sustainable future. My interaction with SECI goes back to 2017, when at that point in time I was Principal Secretary or Additional Chief Secretary, Power and Chairman of the distribution company. And that was a case where we looked to SECI as a matchmaker. And I had come, and that marriage which we are talking about, of course, didn't happen. And not because of SECI's fault, let me assure you that. It was because state had put some very difficult conditions. One, it says in Assam, the price should be capped at 3 rupees, which was very tough in those days. And I think in Rajasthan, it had then come down to 2 rupees 48 paisa per unit. But my state said that cap should be placed at ₹3 or 3 rupees. The other condition was that the 7 paisa margin was too high. Anyway, be that as it may, I think we agreed to 7 paisa, and because it was a part of the Government of India terms and condition, we had to certainly comply with that. And the second thing was, I think we kept waiting and nothing happened, because obviously that 3 rupees was a bridge too far, a very difficult target to achieve. And eventually, of course, I also got transferred in the meantime, and I was out of the power department. I believe state itself did the tendering and accepted a tender bid at 3 rupees 50 paisa, which is far more than what probably SECI would have achieved. So it's my bad luck and the state's bad luck that we did not take the help of SECI and go through the entire course. I also congratulate Mr. P.K. Singh, OSD, and also Secretary Designate Ministry of MNRE, Ministry of New and Renewable Resources, for the onerous responsibility that has been cast on him and which he will take up in a matter of days, if not months. I think the idea of having a stakeholders meeting as a part of the birthday celebration is a brilliant idea. And I can see stakeholders from across the vast spectrum present here today. You have DISCOMs, you have power companies, you have manufacturing bodies, you have the regulators, and people representing every shade of interest and opinion present here today. This, I'm sure, would lead to churning of ideas, and something worthwhile is going to emerge from this churning that will take place in the course of the day and and will continue thereafter. I'm actually extremely delighted to be here, to be in today's session, which is, to my mind, of immense significance. That is India's transition to renewable energy. As we stand today on the cusp of a transformative era, wherein the policy and regulatory landscape plays a pivotal role in shaping the trajectory towards cleaner energy future. The energy transition involves shifting, as you are aware, it involves shifting of traditional fossil fuel-based power generation to cleaner and more sustainable energy. I will not mention the targets that we are all by now fully aware, and we have got into our own system. There are few dates and few years that are to be remembered. One, of course, is that 500 gigawatt target, which we appear to be on course to achieving, and other is that a net zero target of 2070. It's crucial to remember that these targets are not just numbers, a statement of intent. They represent our collective commitment to reducing carbon emissions, providing clean and affordable energy, and creating sustainable livelihoods while safeguarding the future generations. Now, briefly, if you see the journey of India in this, in the RE sector, I think we have achieved quite a bit. Today, the total installed capacity is around 446 gigawatt, as in June 2024. I believe it has crossed that, and in that, only I think around 203 gigawatt is the non-fossil fuel sources. And if you see our growth and development in a period from 2015 to 2023-24, you would see that expansion of RE has taken place from 40 gigawatt to 143 gigawatt. This highlights, and very strongly highlights, India's capability to scale up renewable capacity at an unprecedented pace, which thereby positioning India as one of the global leaders in India and in energy transition. I remember reading in The Economist that years ago, in the first decade of this century, it took one whole year to install 1 gigawatt of renewable energy, or solar energy to be precise. Today, the situation is such that there are several single days that we have been getting 1 gigawatt. So it is 1 gigawatt per day, but obviously we don't get 1 gigawatt every single day of the year, but every single day it is possible to get 1 gigawatt. So considering all this, and the rate at which technology is changing, the pace at which technology is changing, I would think, and I share Mr. Gupta's optimism, that we would be reaching our target of 500 gigawatt. What we need to do is to once again strongly refocus on our target and think how we should reach there. It is not simply a target, as I had mentioned earlier, it also represents our will, our combined collective will and determination. Here it is essential that the regulators also play their part. So success of this policy really hinges upon the robustness of the regulatory framework. As CRC, as you are aware, has taken a number of initiatives over the year not only in the RE sector, but the power sector in general. And today it is working on green transition, not only to encourage development of RE sources, but to address the technical challenges posed by large-scale integration of RE in the system. In 22-23, the whole year, there were as many as 31 events which were actually grid disturbances. Now, this has been pointed out by Grid India. And that report spoke of all these disturbances, and Mr. Ghanshyam Prasad has already alluded to the steps that need to be taken by developers. And I think all this would be of paramount importance, because if we are to ensure that we have grid stability with more and more RE developers joining the mainstream, joining the stream, and more units getting integrated into the grid. One of the most effective tools in driving renewable energy adoption by utilities, the DISCOMs, has been the RPO, or Renewable Purchase Obligations. By mandating that a certain percentage of energy must come from renewable sources, RPOs have ensured continuous demand for clean energy. Regulators have also ensured that preferential treatment is given to RE projects, conferring the must-run status, specifying levelized tariff for 25 long years, waiver of transmission charges, etc., for the required financial and revenue certainty in the initial phase of RE development in India. And I'm told that world over such package has been given, but our package has continued for a much longer period. And if you compare it with the Western world, it is very, very attractive. CIC has also been proactive in issuing generic tariff for various renewable technologies while allowing provisions for project-specific tariffs in RE tariff regulations. So this flexibility ensures that tariff structures can be tailored to the unique circumstances of individual projects. Additionally, the Renewable Energy Certificate Framework, introduced a decade ago, has been a key mechanism in addressing the twin challenges of transferability of renewable power within the country and assisting the obligated entities to meet their RPO. There is no doubt that renewable energy technologies will dominate the future power procurement strategies of distribution utilities. However, it is imperative that the power system prepares itself to integrate renewable energy into it. This requires a flexible system in place. To this end, the Commission has implemented the forecasting and scheduling and DSM regulations for wind and solar projects, keeping their must-run status in mind. The Commission has facilitated the flexible operation of thermal fleet by defining a minimum turndown level of 55% in the case of thermal generating units with corresponding compensation mechanism, the part load compensation, that is, for deterioration of heat rate, auxiliary energy consumption, oil support in excess of normative parameters. So all this has been done to ensure that the variation in RE demand and RE generation is tackled. The issue of regulations on ancillary services is another significant step that goes a long way in creating reserves required in the power system. Given the intermittent and variable nature of RE integration, it is essential to put in place such mechanism for creating reserves and operationalizing ancillary services for handling load generation imbalances. So they actually provide a supportive ecosystem for enabling energy storage and demand side response to provide ancillary services. Efforts are also underway to optimize utilization of existing hydro gas generation, particularly during peak hours, and pump or battery storage or both as flexible generation resources to ensure a resilient and flexible system. Let me say a few give you a few extra inputs on this. The forum of regulators, of which all I am a part, and SECI, and all the state regulators are also members, had come out with model regulation on ancillary services, and I believe at least 2 states, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, have already adopted their regulations on ancillary services. 2 more states are on the verge of completing their task and putting in place regulations on ancillary services. Eventually, the whole of India will also have states having their own regulations in this regard. But the most important thing in all this exercise in ancillary services and resource adequacy is basically a proper demand forecasting and realistic, proper, objective demand forecasting. So far, we have been off target in many an occasion, but to be more accurate, and this is one of the various demands of developers, that forecasting need to improve. We are aware of that, and to the extent possible, we will be playing a part in allaying your misgivings and also reassuring you that things are taken care of. So when I said resource ancillary services, I also actually meant was resource adequacy system. And then actually it is 2 states which have implemented the resource adequacy project regulations. Measures have also been taken towards digitization and the smart grid. And it's expected the smart grid, which provides better insight on a real-time basis on the grid conditions and RE generation, would further help in enhancing RE integration. The last important point is about energy storage projects. This is a promising technology and has proven the utility for grid stability, and it can certainly help in the decarbonization of the Indian grid. Due to the very short response time, energy storage is expected to play a major role as secondary service in the country. A regulatory framework is being created across the value chain to enable energy storage to participate in the market. It is believed that energy storage will help meet power system in ramping requirements caused by variable RE. The issue of power market was also brought up in various meetings and fora. I'd like to say the ancillary service market has been created, which gives an opportunity for energy storage and even demand response to participate in the balancing market. And India also has a power market specifically for green energy, GTAM and GDAM. And this, and following the CRC approval, both solar and non-solar contract can be covered under these products. This marketing segment features contract as green intraday, green day-ahead contingency, green daily, and green weekly. These steps for creating market for enabling renewables are expected to encourage procurement of power from renewable energy sources in the region and hence lead to a greener transition. So let me conclude. While we celebrate the 13th Foundation Day with the accomplishment of SECI, you all know that the journey is far from over. In fact, the road ahead presents even greater opportunity and challenges. There are several issues involving the provisions of the standard PPA signed by SECI, such as novation of PPAs, ambiguity of force majeure provisions in the PPA, etc. It's time the issues are resolved for the sake of investment certainty. SECI's story is one of growth, perseverance, and unwavering commitment to the cause of clean energy. Through strong policy frameworks, regulatory support, and collaboration with domestic and international stakeholders, SECI has laid a strong and robust foundation for the future of renewable energy in India. Over the past 12 years, SECI has played a pivotal role in adding gigawatts of solar, wind, and hybrid energy projects to India's energy profile. While SECI's accomplishments thus far are truly impressive, I'm confident the next phase of its journey would be even more remarkable. Once again, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to the entire SECI team and wish them continued success as they work towards powering India's sustainable future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for addressing us. And as you rightly said, that the road is far from over. SECI story is about growth, about perseverance, and unwavering commitment to clean energy. Thank you very much for sharing your perspectives. Ladies and gentlemen, before we conclude the inaugural session, may I please take the opportunity of inviting Director Solar, Shri Sanjay Sharma ji, to kindly please present tokens of acknowledgement, gratitude, and thanks to all our dignitaries who joined us here today. संजय शर्मा जी, आपसे निवेदन है कि मंच पर पधारें और हमारे सभी अतिथियों को सम्मानित करें. सबसे पहले जिष्णु बरुआ जी, बहुत बहुत आभार. थैंक यू वेरी मच. सेलिब्रेशंस ऑफ SECI. Thank you very much. A big round of applause. Thank you, Shri Prashant Kumar Singh ji. बहुत बहुत आभार. Please join your hands, ladies and gentlemen. Shri Ghanshyam Prasad ji, thank you very much for joining us here today. A token of thanks and respect. Thank you, Shri Ashok Pal ji. बहुत बहुत आभार. Please join hands, ladies and gentlemen, for thanking our dignitaries as they joined us here today and also for sharing their thoughts, their ideas, their views, the words of wisdom with all of us.
Celebrate the 13th Foundation Day of Solar Energy Corporation of India. It's a matter of great pride for the entire SECI family, indeed. And we are truly delighted to celebrate this momentous occasion in the presence of our stakeholders who have been instrumental in helping us achieve our goals and milestones. As we gather here today, let us take a moment to reflect on our collective achievements and look forward to the exciting path going forward. Thank you for being here with us on this day, and I hope you enjoy listening to our distinguished speakers and carry back fond memories. But to begin with, let us look at a short film on SECI, the journey so far and the way forward.
Told us that there's a beautiful video that we'll be looking at and then moving on to the next session.
Their strength is often defined by size and rigidity. Adaptability is a unique and powerful force. It's about navigating change while pursuing a mission. When the mission is about affirmative climate action for future generations, we must remain rooted in our values, stay flexible, adapt. Our 13-year journey is a testament to how resolve, when paired with action, drives transformation, Solar Energy Corporation of India, that is SECI, was incorporated on 20th September 2011 as the primary vehicle of the Government of India's ambitious journey of climate action.
Solar Energy Corporation was set up in the year 2011. Those were the times when there was very little experience about solar in the country. I'm talking about those times when the installed capacity in the country was just one experimental plant of 2 megawatts. And one couldn't imagine that we would reach, say, 100 gigawatts. The National Solar Mission set a target of 20,000 megawatts, which was then considered unachievable. So it was thought that we should have a specialized organization, an organization where all aspects of solar would be taken care of, rooftop solar or various other schemes.
From humble beginnings, the nascent organization took up the challenge of making solar power affordable, scalable, and accessible to all. Commencing with the 750 megawatt VGF scheme, we introduced India's first ever interstate solar power trading mechanism, kickstarting a revolution of sorts.
One thing I would like to mention at this point that Indian policy banked upon one difference from the national policy, which was in terms of the competitive bidding and incentive for the price reduction in the tariffs, whereas global policy was more or less based on FIT. In order to reduce the price of solar power, government provided what you call viability gap funding. In consultation with distribution companies or purchasing discoms, we discovered what could be solar tariff which is comfortable to them. We fixed that and we conducted bids, which was an innovation at that time.
Becoming a commercial organization, SECI ventured into power generation. With growing sectoral experience, SECI started offering concept to commissioning, consultancy management services to PSUs, hand-holding them in their quest for green transition. SECI undertook the implementation of large utility-scale aggregated, plug-and-play solar park scheme on one end and distributed rooftop solar scheme on the other, as key components of the National Solar Mission. With the NSM targets being revised from 20 gigawatt to 100 gigawatt of solar, SECI faced its most ambitious challenge yet.
Full credit to SECI. We undertook this challenge and grew our portfolio from 4 gigawatt to nearly 50 gigawatt with a lot of innovations.
Over the past decade, SECI has been the pivotal force in the renewable energy sector, inviting, innovating, encouraging, conversing, spurring the growth of RE in the country. The sector, in turn, has rallied around us. The foundations were set for an era of intense competition from domestic and foreign players, largely attributed to low entry barriers, openness to emerging technologies, transparency and investor confidence stemming from payment security mechanisms.
The foreign investors, they told that their boards have directed them to invest in India only on SECI's PPA henceforth. This is probably the greatest brand statement that has come to SECI, and we must cherish this brand value and consistently try to keep it up.
SECI's story has been eponymous with India's RE growth trajectory. As the targets grew from 100 gigawatt solar to 500 gigawatt non-fossil based capacity by 2030, so did the challenges before SECI, including, of course, the COVID pandemic.
The very big challenge which was posed before us at the time when I joined was this aftermath of COVID-19 pandemic. Because of the reduced energy consumption, energy demand in the country, the nationwide lockdowns, SECI was having a big pile of unsold inventory. And that was a very big challenge before us. But with the support and enthusiasm of SECI team, my team at that time, sold almost 18 gigawatts of renewable energy. We signed the PSAs. This amount was almost half of the entire PSAs signed by the SECI in its journey since inception, which was almost 11 years.
The government's vision of an Atmanirbhar Bharat was ably supported by SECI through the successful implementation of the PLI schemes for solar PV modules, followed by green hydrogen and electrolyzer capacity allocations.
We were given the task to handle production-linked incentive scheme for solar modules domestic manufacturing. And in this tranche, which was probably the biggest tranche, we were able to award almost 14,000 crore, and which will be able to add roughly 40 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity and modules into the sector, and that is going to reduce our import dependence hugely.
SECI's success is also attributed to its ability to forge strategic partnerships with central and state governments and regulatory organizations, international stakeholders, and private sector players. These collaborations have been instrumental to reduce costs and increase efficiency in RE deployment. SECI has created a vibrant RE ecosystem in the country, and today, state utilities are actively replicating the successful models in meeting their own requirements.
True to its DNA, SECI has transformed the Indian RE ecosystem within a span of less than a decade by bringing in product innovations such as hybrid RE, RE-RTC, demand following, ESS, green hydrogen, etc. This has culminated into award of 69 gigawatt of RE capacity, and power purchase agreements of more than 52 gigawatt have already been signed.
SECI has highlighted the critical role of energy storage in India's energy transition through its pilot battery storage project in Lakshadweep and the country's largest solar plus battery storage system in Chhattisgarh, paving the way for future initiatives of this kind. When SECI started, solar capacity constituted around 1% of India's total installed capacity, and today RE contributes around 20% in India's energy mix. Today, 1 in every 6th solar project is being set up under SECI, and the ratio is expected to increase to 1/3 in the next 2 years. In recognition of its exceptional performance and significant contributions to the RE sector, SECI was first conferred upon the prestigious Mini Ratna Category 1 status on 10th April 2023 and recently with the coveted Navratna status.
Getting the Navratna status unlocks a huge potential for SECI to spread its wings, as it will expedite asset development by the organization, which impacts our profitability significantly. The next step is, of course, to aim for Maharatna. It will be quite a challenge for sure, given that we need to increase our profitability by almost 10 times.
SECI has every capability and capacity to develop its own projects, and this is a right occasion that SECI will unfold developing its own projects to the tune of 10 gigawatts at least by year 2030.
This is a recognition of hard work put in by the past management, past employees, and current management and current employees. This is also the recognition of the status of SECI, which is synonymous with the growth of RE sector in India. The net zero transition will require new challenges to be faced, new technologies to be introduced, and new business environment to be created. In this, the SECI also will have to change its role, whereas we will continue to foster the innovation and introduction of new technologies which have potential, which are innovative, and which has the potential to bring down the cost.
Driven by a commitment to innovation, sustainability, and collaboration, we strive to stay at the forefront of India's clean energy revolution, setting benchmarks both domestically and globally. By embracing agility and resilience, SECI continues to lead the charge toward a net zero economy, exploring diverse pathways to address climate change and shape a sustainable future.
Thank you very much. That was a beautiful video. As they say that small things lead to perfection, but perfection is definitely not a small thing. SECI has been a pivotal force in the renewable energy sector, and many congratulations once again for the new status accorded to it recently. Ladies and gentlemen, after the inaugural session, it is time for us to move to the technical sessions, and the first one here would be the state's perspectives. The support of states has been instrumental in SECI's journey towards expanding renewable energy capacity. States have faced both challenges and opportunities in adopting green energy, navigating issues such as land acquisition, grid connectivity, and regulatory compliance. However, many have embraced these challenges as opportunities to innovate and attract investment in renewable projects. Their proactive engagement in facilitating solar parks, implementing state-specific policies, and encouraging private sector participation has significantly contributed to SECI's success. Their collaboration has not only enhanced the deployment of renewable energy projects, but also fostered a sustainable energy ecosystem that benefits both local economies and the nation as a whole. The partnership between SECI and the states exemplifies how collective efforts can drive India towards a greener future. So it is time to hear from our distinguished speakers as they're going to discuss how our challenges and opportunities are shaping up our exciting path. May I please invite the speakers for the session to grace us with their presence on the dais, beginning with Shri P. Ravi Kumar, Chairman KERC, Karnataka Electricity Regulatory Commission. May I please invite Shri P. Ravi Kumar ji to the dais. Can we have a louder applause? May I invite Shri Alok Tandon-ji, Chairperson, Joint Electricity Regulatory Commission. Please join hands in welcoming Shri Alok Tandon-ji to the dais. I invite Shri Alok, Chairman, Rajasthan Urja Vikas and IT Services Limited. Please put your hands together for Shri Alok. I invite Dr. Ashish Kumar Goyal, Chairman, Uttar Pradesh Power Corporation Limited. जोरदार तालियों के साथ अभिनंदन. And I request Shri VPS Kele, Chief Engineer from Punjab State Power Corporation Limited to please join us. Can we have a round of applause for all our distinguished guests who have joined us here as we'll be beginning the session on the state's perspectives. Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin the proceedings for this session, may I please begin by inviting Shri VPS Kele, Chief Engineer, PSPCL, Punjab, to kindly please address us.
I, Engineer VPS Kele, Chief Engineer Thermal Design, PSPCL Patiala, would like to take the opportunity to thank SECI to give me to say something on this magnificent event on behalf of PSPCL. First of all, I would like to congratulate SECI on 13th Foundation Day. As we all know, SECI is making tremendous contribution in the field of renewable energy in the direction of meeting the ambitious targets for renewable power set by Government of India up to 2030. We as a state-owned distribution licensee in Punjab are having long-term association with SECI for procurement of renewable energy including solar, wind and hybrid power. Recently, with association of SECI, another milestone was achieved when SECI floated very first and one of its kind tender for Punjab as off-taker. We have very peculiar load condition in Punjab where the load during peak months of June to September is about two and a half times of that during non-peak months. And keeping in view the same, I am feeling very happy to say that tenders for procurement of 3000 megawatt firm and dispatchable renewable power has been floated by SECI for inviting offers to set up renewable power projects including solar, wind and battery energy storage system to match the load profile of PSPCL around the clock for full year. On this auspicious occasion, I would also hope and propose that SECI may also start to set up renewable power projects in capex mode by participating in tenders floated by utilities like already being done in CPSU schemes. In the end, I really hope and I am sure that SECI shall continue to do the marvelous job in the field of renewable power and this association of PSPCL shall go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your perspectives and we got to know about the situations in Punjab. May I now proceed and invite Dr. Ashish Kumar Goyal, Chairman, Uttar Pradesh Power Corporation Limited, to please share his perspectives.
A very good morning to you all, and I congratulate the whole SECI team and especially CMD Sir Shri R.P. Gupta ji for attaining the Navaratna status for SECI and on this 13th Foundation Day, and I am grateful to him for inviting me to present my views. Uttar Pradesh this year has turned as the largest energy consuming state of the country. The peak demand has crossed 30,700 megawatt and daily consumption to the tune of almost 630 million units. Currently, our RE mix is around 14 to 15%, but we have taken steps in the direction of meeting our RPO obligations. Of course, when the RPO obligations were notified in October 23, the states were unprepared for such a steep trajectory of RPO obligations, starting with almost 30% in 24-25 and going up to 46% in a few years. But we are taking steps, and to those developers who might be present here, I would like to inform that we have already floated bids for 2000 megawatt solar, 4000 megawatt hydro, 2000 megawatt pump storage, and 300 megawatt of battery storage. Very soon we will be floating bids for more battery storage and more peak power storage. Our association with SECI dates back to 2016, and we have been consistently doing PSAs with SECI, and in the last 1 year alone, 1500 megawatt of solar and almost 1800 megawatt of wind energy PSAs have been signed with SECI, and we hope for a more fruitful association and future with SECI. As this session is about the state perspectives, and I would not be wrong in putting forward the perspective of the regulatory commissions as well as the states, that as the quantum of RE is increasing, the quantum of trading margin of SECI needs some reconsideration. So you understand better what states and regulatory commissions are asking. Sir, I would invite your attention to what the UPERC has said. We had a difficult time in getting the PSAs through UPERC this time, and they said as an exception we are approving the PSA, but from the next time you have to negotiate hard with SECI and bring down the trading margin. The other aspect is, sir, in the FDRE and the bundled RE thing, when we analyze the individual component, it turns out cheaper than the combined bid. There were many offers to UP for the FDRE and bundled power, and when we analyzed it component wise, so A was cheaper, B was cheaper, but A plus B was not cheaper for us. So probably some design of tenders need to be relooked into, so that those bundled bids and bundled offers are more attractive to the states. Moreover, sir, I have been in discussion with the chairman CEA. Many states have complementary load profiles. Probably you may come up with products which combine the demand cycles of different states, so that the whole offer is attractive. So, for example, UP and MP have complementary load profiles. So probably if you come up with a bid for peak power or RTC or FDRE, say for 6 months UP will take and for 6 months MP will take, this will be more beneficial to such states, and such offer of RE power will have more takers, sir. So this is one of the suggestions, sir. The other thing is, sir, the reliability and availability during peak time, peak months as well as peak hours. Those need to be, stipulations need to be more strict. Currently, the definition of default is that for n number of months, continuous default only will be considered a default on the part of the supplier. So essentially, theoretically, the supplier can get away with not supplying me the electricity during the peak hours or the peak months of summer, and theoretically he can just supply me for 1 month during the summer months, and then he can say I am well within my obligations under the PSA. So those terms, if we are buying more expensive power under FDRE or bundled power, so that stipulation needs to be much more stringent, so that the states are not deprived of supply during the peak hours as well as the peak months. So that is one of the apprehensions that we had in the current offers which were given to us under FDRE, sir. So these are certain observations of our state. We would also request SECI to float bids for purely peak power, and that too on the complementary basis with other states. So, and SECI will, as a central government organization, you have a much more bird's eye view of the complementarity of different load patterns and more experience in this field. So you would be, I am sure you would be able to come up with better bundled bids which are specific to the states. Thank you very much, sir.
So we're just trying to set up the presentation, and thank you, sir, for sharing perspectives from Uttar Pradesh. Thank you for letting us know. Thank you very much. So ladies and gentlemen, we're moving on, and now inviting Shri Alok, Chairman, Rajasthan Urja Vikas and IT Services Limited, to kindly please share his thoughts and also discuss the points in the presentation with all of us. So,
good morning, everybody. Respected members on the dais, respected CMD SECI, my friend PK Singh ji, OSD to MNRE, all dignitaries from different organizations, developers, regulators, and friends. First of all, I would like to congratulate SECI on this occasion, and I am very happy that SECI has traveled this distance. Actually, in 2011, I was in the Ministry of Power and was associated with NVVN. And that time, this was transition from NVVN to SECI. And Swani Kumarji, who was earlier working in MNRE, he becomes, suppose, the first MD of SECI. So I'm happy. That time, the issue of payment security mechanism, all things were discussed on a regular basis. And there were a lot of issues which was handled at that time. I am very happy that it has grown into a big organization. And of course, also congratulations on the they being assigned the status of Navratna. So this being an occasion, a happy occasion, I will not raise any of the issues on commercial issues, not any of the differences between different organizations. I will just like to project Rajasthan, because Rajasthan has been helping everybody, including SECI and other states, just like because we are also organizing event Rising Rajasthan for investment in different sectors, and the renewable sector being the best for Rajasthan. So I will just take you with some slides and try to project what is there. So these are repetition of what you know. It's not that you don't know this. Everybody knows this. So basically, highest solar radiation, and again some facts. You know that we have large chunk of land, unirrigated, and these we are, in fact, the Bhadla Solar Park, we have around 8,000 hectare of land, and others have also put up this project in this. Power evacuation network. See, Mr. Pal, I have worked with Mr. Pal also, and whenever I talk to him regarding CTU, he is, must have also observed from his presentation, he is a little disturbed person, because he knows huge amount of power is to be evacuated from places like Rajasthan and Gujarat. So there is a huge need to give some thought on the evacuation. In fact, yesterday there was a Ministry of Power had a meeting on evacuation and transmission plans. I am happy that they stated that the evacuation plan and transmission plan will now be dynamic, and whatever recommendations comes to CA through MNRE, that will be we constantly will take an account. So this is a serious issue that country should always be aware of this and shall be working for it. Of course, we got the highest Achiever State Award on 16th, and now as the data for 31st goes, we are highest on solar and also on the renewable. Last 7 months we have been working on Kusum also, and there has been a lot of effort that we are making on Kusum. In fact, we have awarded around 4,500 megawatt of Kusum. These are some of the facts again, and you can see from the pipeline projects also that huge amount of ISTS projects, 26,315 megawatts are being under installation, and then shortly will be coming out. SECI 16,731. Now their competitor NHPC, NTPC, AJVN, they are also coming up, and lot many private developers are also coming to state of Rajasthan for putting up plants. So there is a huge potential. I again invite you, and along with battery storage, PSP, others storage, new technology, you are invited to invest in Rajasthan. This is again some of the facts. In RE Invest in Ahmedabad, we were asked to give some Sapath Path also, and we have given a Sapath Path that we will be taking this to 115 gigawatt by 2030. So support of all the developers, SECI, other states, UP also you are invited. Either you take power from us or you establish your power plant. So that will be cheap also, and I think there is a HVDC line, if I am not wrong, Mr. Pal will confirm it, that their HVDC line is being constructed from Rajasthan to eastern UP. That will come up by 2029 or 2030. We have also gone for MOUs. JV agreement with NTPC Renewable has been signed. They have committed 25 gigawatt, 1 lakh crore. Then Coal India is also NLC. As PK said that he is coming from petroleum and then coming to renewable. Again, those companies who are early, in fact, as in the Ministry of Power as a director, I was supposed to look after NTPC, hugely coal based, and we used to project what will happen in 2032. Sir, what is happening is that now they are coming for renewable. Again, Coal India is coming for renewable. GAIL is coming for renewable. So most of the players who are in coal sector, gas sector, they are joining hands for renewable sector. So these are huge opportunities. Ultra mega solar park, government of Rajasthan has already allotted this land and development has started. We are hopeful in a period of 2 years this park will come up, and again Mr. Pal will have to think about connecting these parks. I always talk to Mr. Pal, please connect us so that better technology, so that less of our land is also, because see, but thanks to Ministry of Power that a guideline has been issued for compensation to farmers for putting up evacuation network, and that is at least going to ease our difficulties in putting this transmission network. As I said that Kusum A, thanks to MNRE, because they have allocated us maximum amount of target, and we are putting up these. Recently we floated tender for 1 gigawatt of rooftop solar on government buildings. I am happy to inform you that yesterday that we have received 930 megawatt of bids, and we will be again floating more for government buildings. So this is what rooftop, of course we are, PM Sur Ghar also we are promoting. Pump storage also, we have identified sites, and we will be calling for bids also, and we are happy that developers can come and we can join hands. These are some of the companies already working. We will request other company also to work with us. And once again, sir, without taking much of time, I will congratulate SECI for achieving this Navratna status and this Foundation Day. I am very happy to be here, sir, and I am very happy, sir called me yesterday. So earlier I was thinking not to come, but sir, I had to agree to a request. Thank you again, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for letting us know those wonderful achievements from the state of Rajasthan. So many awards and so many first ranks. So let the good work continue and also serve as motivation for the others as well. Ladies and gentlemen, after these perspectives from Rajasthan, we will now move on and invite Shri Alok Tandon, Chairperson, Joint Electricity Regulatory Commission, to please address us.
Dignitaries on the dais, Secretary Designate MNRE, CMD SECI, and other distinguished guests. As we are running behind schedule, I will be very brief in my address. First of all, I would like to congratulate SECI on their Foundation Day. And as mentioned in the video, when SECI started in 2011, the installed capacity was, as mentioned, it was about 1 megawatt, and now the renewable capacity, installed capacity, is approximately 200 gigawatts. So really, this journey has taken place in a short time, but now the targets are more steep, as from 200 we have to move 500 in the next 5 to 6 years. And it's important to achieve this task, the target, it's important to know the comments, issues from the various stakeholders. So this conference would prove very useful. As a regulator, our job is to facilitate this transition while keeping the interest of consumer in mind. And when we come out with regulations, the process is very clear. We issue draft regulations, we invite public comments, and based on those comments, we finalize our regulations. And we find mostly that the distribution companies only participate in the public consultation by giving the comments. I would request the other stakeholders like the developers and the financiers also that as and when we publish our draft regulations, they should come with the suggestions so that we can come up with a regulation which is sort of acceptable to all and also facilitates the process. We have come out with green open energy regulations as well as the RPO regulations, which will facilitate the path up to 2030. Two of our territories, the Andaman Nicobar Islands and the Lakshadweep, they are island territories, and of course, because of this, they are facing huge problems in meeting the RPO obligations. In this context, I would like to request SECI that they have been invited by both the island territories to set up the renewable capacity there. And if they could accelerate this process, it will be advantageous for the consumers also, because as of now, the electricity generation takes place almost wholly by DG set, which has a cost of approximately 35 to 40 rupees a unit. So if they could accelerate this process, I think the path to the renewable energy transition would also be hastened, and also the consumers would be benefited. So with this, I would like to congratulate SECI once again for the paths, the journey they have taken so far, and wishing them a bright future. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your perspectives and for those wonderful well wishes for SECI. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, May I please now request Shri P. Ravi Kumar, Chairman KERC, Karnataka Electricity Regulatory Commission, to please address us. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please put our hands together for Shri P. Ravi Kumar.
Friends, I should congratulate SECI on its 13th Foundation Day. I have associated with SECI in the sense from 2001 was 11-12 and then 14-15 when Mr. Ashwini Kumar, I think, was the MD then. And SECI was a very small fledgling organization. They had no perspective. They did not know what to do. And then Upendra Tripathi was the secretary, MNRE, and then Tarun Kapoor used to handle solar. That is the time the push came for the renewables and particularly solar. And states were not prepared and states did not know what to do. Then Tarun actually had come down to Bangalore one day, and then over a cup of tea, we formed the JV with SECI for making the solar park, the Pavagada solar park. And that time it was the largest solar park in the country. And SECI was also a part of development, SECI and NVVN. They were the two organizations who took up development of the solar projects because states just did not have the capacity. But as UP chair was saying, though we had signed agreements, called tenders, everything was over, the regulator then also refused to approve the PSAs. Only on the issue of this 7 paisa margin. I'm talking about 2015. That time also they raised the same issue. But somehow we convinced them to go ahead. But then they said that's all and nothing further. So after that, though we had to develop another 1,000 megawatts in Pavagada, the state did not go with SECI. Because by that time the state had developed its own capacity to call tenders. So the association with SECI from then, I am aware and how it has grown and now it has become a Navratna. So all congratulations to you. But the development of SECI is also at the cost of the states, poor discoms and the consumers. So if you are making profits, the NTPC is making profits, it is only passing on to the discoms only and the consumers. So if you want to increase profits to become Maharatna, they will again go into the red, the discoms. So please don't think of making money at the cost of, because we as regulators, as Alok was saying, we have to look at the consumer also. So we cannot keep on loading under the consumer because this RE, which this animal of RE has come, it only adds to the cost. As Mr. Ashok Pal was saying, the transmission, you have a huge transmission capacity which is not being used for almost 60% of the time and the cost is loaded. Therefore, so this has led to a big problem, like unless the same transmission capacity is used for transmitting some other power, otherwise we are going to be loaded with huge costs. This is something which I would request MNRE to have a look at it, SECI also to examine, because from the state's perspective or the policy perspective, the regulatory perspective, the cost is increasing. Therefore, instead of putting up concentrated projects in Rajasthan, Gujarat, one should look at distributed state-specific projects. Because you see, if it is connected to ISTS, the states will have to pay both ISTS charges and STU charges. The DISCOM has to pay both. You would at least put up in a state. One is at least the capacity would be added in the state. Maybe you can avoid ISTS charges because the ISTS charges are increasing day by day. Because if you have huge capacity and with the present sharing regulations, the cost is socialized across the country, and whether you take or don't take RE power, the states are paying for it. Therefore, actually two tenders, bundled power and one more which SECI had offered, we had rejected because it's just because the transmission costs, we have no control over the transmission, the ISTA charges. Now the POC charges or the transmission charges, GNA charges, which keep increasing. So I would request SECI to look at having state-specific tenders in the state itself, in those states. It will help. At least states which have got RE potential, there you should stay. Therefore, the distributed state-specific thing which I would request you to handle, and this will go a long way in helping this state to increase their RE requirements. There are, as CERC chairman was mentioning, the PSA agreements may have to have relook, because these PSA agreements are come from quite long time ago, and these were pushed down the throats of the DISCOMs because that time the leader was the SECI and NVVN. Now that things have changed, the states have also almost 50% of the capacity is state developed. I would request that government MNRE and government of India have to have a relook at the SBDs and also the PSAs. Thank you. I should thank Mr. R.P. Gupta, because he personally called me yesterday. Otherwise, I would not have come here. He personally called me and then have come here. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And once again, I congratulate SECI on its successes and wish them all the best for the future. Thank you.
Feedback is valuable to us, and it is our commitment that all of us will grow together. So thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, views and ideas with all of us today. Ladies and gentlemen, we would be presenting tokens of acknowledgement, appreciation, gratitude and thanks to our speakers who joined us here today. May I please invite Director Power Systems, Shri Siva Kumarji, to join us on the dais for presenting these tokens of gratitude. Thank you, Shri P. Ravi Kumarji, for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, please join hands. Thank you, Shri Alok Tandonji, for being here today, a part of the momentous celebrations and discussions also at the same time. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you, Shri Alok from Rajasthan Urja Vikas IT Services Limited. Thank you, Dr. Ashish Kumar Goyal ji. बहुत बहुत आभार हमारे सभी स्पीकर्स का, हमारे सभी डिग्निटरीज का जो आज हमारे मध्य पहुंचे. थैंक यू श्री VPS कैले जी, बहुत बहुत आभार. Please put your hands together for our wonderful esteemed speakers who joined us here today. Thank you very much that you consented to be a part of this momentous day celebrations of SECI. Thank you very much. So with this, we conclude this session on states' perspectives, and we'll be diving into the next session, which is on the World Bank. May I please invite Mr. Prashant to kindly please introduce the session and the speaker for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, in our collaboration with the World Bank, SECI has benefited greatly from the expertise and support of an international financial institution. This partnership has been pivotal in strengthening our capabilities, enabling us to undertake ambitious projects. One of the most significant achievements recently has been the 100 megawatt solar PV project with 120 megawatt hour battery energy storage system in Rajnandgaon, Chhattisgarh, which stands as on date the largest of its kind. This project not only demonstrates our commitment to innovative energy solutions, but also showcases how strategic alliances can drive progress in the RE sector in the country. Let us hear World Bank Senior Energy Specialist Ms. Surbhi Goyal talk about the project as we work together to pave the way for a sustainable India.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, a huge congratulations to SECI for having 13th Foundation Day, and especially the Navratna status. So we have been associated from the World Bank with SECI for like many years now, almost like 8 to 9 years, if I'm not mistaken. And it's our pride to stand here and share our experiences about how the World Bank and SECI have worked together in promoting some of the things which are cutting edge and are paving the way for newer kind of models for renewable energy in the country. So this particular session is all about a particular state of Chhattisgarh where SECI has come up with a very innovative business model of renewable energy, and it actually takes care of some of the points that the previous panel was discussing, that how SECI is promoting the RE into the states. So this presentation might help expand a bit more on it. But before that, I think it might be useful just to give a quick synopsis that, especially on the brown figures on the left side, 442 plus gigawatts capacity, of which about 190 plus gigawatt is in renewable energy. Of course, number keep on changing every day. This might be a bit dated. But we have to go to 500 gigawatts by 2030, which is a huge target. However, there are certain challenges which other speakers have alluded to. Availability of land, of course, is a big challenge. We are the most populous country, and land has an opportunity cost. Transmission systems, the right-of-way issues are huge. A lot of challenges, as Dr. Pal also mentioned in morning session, are there. And then if we talk about certain resources like wind and all, they are very specific to certain areas in the country. So what can be done? In this context is what World Bank and SECI started to talk about 8-9 years ago, brought together certain project ideas, and then now culminated into 2 sub-projects, one commissioned, one going to be commissioned in next 18 months or so. So here we are partnering with SECI for about $89 million, of which we have CTF grant and loan for about $22 million, which is quite substantive. The project objective was to demonstrate large-scale innovative renewable energy projects in the country. It spans across promoting hybrid renewable energy, battery storage, as well as floating solar. So our journey actually began with not Chhattisgarh, but the state of Andhra Pradesh, where we had designed a co-located solar wind project of 160 megawatt. So a rough layout looked like something this. If you zoom into it, it's something similar to it was designed. The circles are about the wind and their shade effect, and the rugged kind of a formation is solar. But gradually we realized that when you look into it, there are more things that we had to do. And in Andhra Pradesh project, we realized that RE was variable a lot, even when we had put together wind and solar, which were complementary. If you look at this chart, quite dated, but still very important. In September 2016, for instance, the average variation was 500 megawatt between June to September, like few months. The implication, all the state sector and the central sector utilities know, the high bilateral contracts, power exchange, everything you have to depend on, which are pretty expensive. Similarly, if you look for the another chart here, within like a matter of few minutes, about 70 megawatt of variation was there. Again, what Dr. Pal was alluding, it's actually very big, the variation which is coming, and for the grid, it's not very friendly. So how do we take it forward? There is where then we thought about adding batteries to that particular concept. And there were certain use cases that were promoted, of course, curtailment avoidance, wherever the spilling of the renewable energy should happen, should not happen. Secondary use case like ramp rate control, how do we supplement the grid to have more stable and grid power, and tertiary use case, for instance, in supporting this DISCOMs and the deviation settlement mechanism. So essentially, there were 3 important parameters: technical viability, financial compensation, and regulatory compliances, which were very important for bringing batteries. At that point in time, we are talking about like 2016, 17, the batteries were still not mainstream. Regulatory, clearances and the procedures were not clear. So it was all, we were all trying to pave new way for such kind of technologies. However, due to change in the government of the state, we couldn't make this project forward. However, this provided a good baseline for what we did together with SECI in Chhattisgarh. So this is the snapshot of the project. It's the largest solar with battery project in India. It is in the state of Chhattisgarh, one of the, I would say, coal-dependent states. Very small percentage of renewable energy there, trying to meet RPOs through importing of power, need to develop energy security from the renewable energy resources, and there is where SECI stepped in. They identified their, specific requirement when it is pinching the state government to buy power, which is during the peak demand periods, when they were either relying on the fossil fuel-based bilateral contracts or they were relying on the power exchanges. The prices, of course, as we all know, during the evening peak demand or morning peak demands are generally very high. Regulators have put a cap of 10 now, rest goes into the HPDM, but that is the pain point. Many of the states are having the same kind of an issue. Then SECI stepped in to design this particular project to have solar field which will first charge the batteries, and the batteries would then dispatch the power during evening peak hours for up to 3 hours. This was a win-win situation for everyone. State got a power which was at much lower rates. I can say, of course, the tariff regulatory petitions are still being, filed, and the compliances and the, meetings are happening. But I'm sure it would be somewhere around 4.5 or even less than that per unit against what Chhattisgarh state was paying. On SECI side, it actually helped them demonstrate that what hybrid project with battery could look like. It also informed the future auctions which they were going to come up in terms of the RTC, FDRE, etc. So it was a beautiful combination that all came together. If you look on the chart, what it just says is that on the top side, the state's demand is the blue line. The project is very small. Of course, it's not very, making a huge dent in the system, but what it's doing, it's bringing renewable energy into the portfolio of the state. If you zoom into the gray chart and come to the lower side of the chart, so the gray portion is what the solar is being generated. The orange line is the solar being generated, but the gray is being fed into the grid. The gap between orange and gray portion is something which is being fed into the batteries, which will be then dispatched into the evening hours. This project was commissioned in February. Some of the important features that we together with SECI developed at the bid design stage, we ensured that there should be technology agnostic tech specifications, no requirement of putting, say, lithium ion or any other kind of storage. Let the market come back with the competitive rates of what is the market telling them. Then the price bid, this is very important. The price bid included for the full design, supply, installation contract. This was a bit beyond EPC contract, because here we had included a component of design as well, so that the incoming EPC player would have skin in the game, would have say in how the project could be put up. And because there was also a 10 years O&M included, which meant that on the basis of certain guarantee parameters, performance parameters, the bidder, the incoming bidder, would have to adhere to or perform according to that. So that's why design was important. So that's why DSI would mean design, supply and installation, plus the 10 years of O&M. So price bid was inclusive of the DSI plus NPV of 10 years of O&M. And as I mentioned, battery supply was kept open. For tariff calculations, this is like details, but just quickly, that inverter replacement cost was included in the tariff petition, as well as the components, BS components, to be replaced every 10 years depending on the cycles that the state requires. And functional guarantees, this is, I think, very important. Instead of having megawatt capacities installed, the bid was more about that how DSI contractor would be meeting certain requirements. Minimum battery availability they have to ensure, minimum performance ratios, and minimum CUFs for the solar fields, which brought a lot of outcome-oriented approach to this particular bid. Another important aspect is that the efficient land utilization was key to it. About 160 megawatts were set up on 180 hectares. Another important aspect is that environment social impact assessments were done in very many details, and very happily this is being noted by the bank, is that wherever there was any issue of land coming up, either in terms of acquisition or transfer of the land, SECI wholeheartedly said we are not going to touch those land parcels. We do not want to disturb anybody there. So it was on unproductive parcel of land, very nicely developed together and performing very efficiently. Another key feature of this particular project is that they have used bifacial solar panels, which is expected to increase the efficiency of the panels by more than 20%. We will of course get to know the results by end of next year, fiscal year I would say, because the project just got commissioned few months ago. The result was of course nothing less than outstanding. It's the largest solar battery project, innovation for Chhattisgarh also, because now people across the globe actually are trying to understand how SECI pulled this together, how they can replicate in their own countries, especially African countries. And as one of the leading media houses published, this particular project constitutes 58% of the current installed capacities of the batteries in the country, which is huge. Some of the pictures, just to give you a snapshot about what the project looks like. This is the solar field, and this is the battery bank, and behind the battery banks you could see substation, and behind that you could see solar panels. So with this, thank you so much. It was my pleasure to walk you through this, but we are so happy to associate with SECI, and we really take a huge pride in this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation, and may I please invite Director Finance Shri Joshit Ranjanji to please present a token of acknowledgement and thanks to you for that wonderful. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Project developers are key partners in the RE landscape, and they are essentially the driving force who transform vision into reality. Without their expertise and commitment, our ambitious plans and projections would remain just that, ideas. You navigate complex challenges and seize opportunities to innovate, ensuring that projects are not only conceptualized but are also successfully realized. As we continue on this journey, the collaboration with project developers will remain crucial in achieving our collective goals and realizing India's RE potential. Let us listen now to a panel discussion on the project developer's perspective.
Invite the panelists to take their places, beginning with Mr. Sharad Mahindra, Joint Managing Director and CEO from JSW Energy. Let's welcome Mr. Sharad Mahindra. Inviting Shri Amit Singh, CEO, Adani Green Energy. Please join hands for Shri Amit Singh, CEO, Adani Green Energy. Inviting Shri Vikram Kapoor, Group President, Renew Power. Please join hands in welcoming Shri Vikram Kapoor. Shri Kishore Nair, CEO, Avada Group. Shri Akshay Hiranandani, CEO, Serentica Renewables. Shri Parag Sharma, CEO, O2 Power. And the moderator for this session, Shri Anish Mandal, partner at Deloitte. So let's welcome our esteemed panel with a big round of applause.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, dignitaries. So thank you, and I'm deeply honored and privileged to be moderating this esteemed panel, which all the esteemed panel needs no introduction. Just quickly, I think in this momentous occasion of SECI's 13th Foundation Day, and as well as a big round of applause and congratulations to SECI, and as well as the panel members for joining as a development partner for SECI. So thanks again for this occasion, and hopefully the next 30 to 40 minutes will be an interesting session for all of you. Hearing from the panel what has been their experiences so far and what kind of suggestions and recommendations they have for an even steeper journey what we have for the country. So with that, I'll turn my questions to probably Amit, to you. So it has been a tremendous journey so far, I think, while India taking on 175 gigawatt target by 2022 and then an even bigger target of 500 gigawatt by 2030. So how has been the journey for you, and as well as what has been the some of the success stories and I would say the good experiences which you had with SECI. So let's start with that and then we go deeper into the sector questions. Over to you, Amit.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation, Gupta ji, all the dignitaries here. Congratulations to you and the whole SECI family. I think it's important to recognize that we won't be sitting here without SECI. Well done. I think SECI has played a big role in India's journey and growth of renewable power, and it's great to celebrate this milestone together. In Adani Green, I think we are today at a very pivotal moment. We have around 11.2 gigawatt of operational capacity. We have set ourselves a target of 50 gigawatt by 2030. We plan to remain 10% of India's grid, or at least renewable part going forward, and we want to make sure that we combine it with solar, wind, battery, pump storage solutions, and it's important that they make progress together, for all the reasons which was discussed this morning as well. Just to reflect on what have been great relationship between the two organizations. The first one which comes to mind has been a very ease of working. I think there is always, the doors are always open. We've found, not just me, but my entire team tells me that SECI is very collaborative to work with. They're always looking to find solutions. And I think this is very important because the nature of our business, where there are so many changes, the environment is dynamic. There are mismatches between evacuation and supply chain. And they have to be understood and managed. And I think that is very important. That collaborative nature is very critical to success. Second thing is, the payment cycle. I think a lot of our projects require very good receivables and making sure that it gives confidence to our shareholders, our investors. And SECI has stood up and delivered. And we really thank SECI for that. We've never had any issues, and we want that to continue. So I would leave the rest. I know that members here want to talk more about it, but those two things come first in my mind.
Thank you, Amita. Yeah, I think what the country has achieved today wouldn't have been possible without SECI, and we have seen that in the presentation also. From 1% to 20%, we are in terms of energy, and I think SECI's promise is 1 out of every 3 projects will be delivered and developed by SECI. So that's again a huge success, and as well as I wish them all success in the future as well. So over to you, probably Vikram, to you. Now, given the peak demand rising more than what we have seen the energy demand, at least in the recent times, what we believe is there could be a likely deficit going forward, at least in the non-solar hours, right? So that's something what we are all envisaging and as well as seeing in the markets as well. So more from that perspective, what should be the strategy the country and SECI should be taking on from here, right? So it's again...
Thank you for that question. Let me just begin, of course, by congratulating all the SECI officials here, Gupta Saab, the entire team here. I think SECI really ushered the green revolution, right? I mean, the next version of the green revolution in the country, while in a very short span of time, right? 13 years. It also happens to overlap exactly with the founding of our company, Renew, 2011. So we are also 13 years old. SECI is 13 years old. It's a coincidence, and our growth would not have been possible without the enabling framework that was put together largely through SECI's efforts. I think I would also say that with the Navratna status, it's a very, very special status in our country, accorded to only very select organizations, and with the sort of great powers also comes greater responsibility, right? So I think I'm sure that the next 13 years, the sector will go from strength to strength under the leadership. On the specific question that you ask, look, of course, many things are already happening, right? So it's very evident that especially in the evening hours, the peak hours, there is a deficit of power, and that peak demand is growing at, like you rightly said, at a faster pace. But at the same time, the renewable energy products, if I may use that word, are also evolving, right? So majority of the tenders that today come out are firm power tenders, some version of FDRE, RTC tenders. The cost of storage has come down dramatically. I think the focus of the sector on introducing storage elements into the grid has gone up to cater to that peak demand. Both PSP, BESS, I think will play therefore a major role to cover that. And I feel that with this a new sort of evolution, right, of RE products, I think we should be able to sort of cater to that kind of peak demand as well, of course.
Right. So yeah, I think a lot of evolution and as well as innovation from SECI particularly we have seen in terms of in terms of RE-RTC, starting with variants of RE-RTC and finally to FDRE, and that too again variants of FDRE, and all of them have been accepted quite well by the states. So the next question to Parag, and there have been certain debates around this as well, like is FDRE the right way of adding capacities, or it's a standalone storage and let the utilities kind of hybridize it, which is more cost optimal, which is the I would say the recommended way forward. So what's your views on that, Parag? How should the country go about, how should SECI go about? Is it come and go, or is it like a one specified way, like the utilities going for standalone storages and standalone all such sources and they hybridize and move it forward?
Yeah. So you are right that jury is out whether FDRE is the right way to meet the intermittency problem in renewables. But I would say that job of integrating wind, solar, storage is more of a regulator who brings out with the market, is more of a role of a grid operator. And pushing it on the generators or IPPs, I may say it is good for me, because this is something which is good for people who have raised reasonable amount of capital. Every 100 megawatt of FDRE requires some $70 million of equity. Very minimum participation happens. So it might be good for large players, but in the interest of the country, I would say, let the market develop. There are multiple players whose role is to integrate different forms of energy. This may be a shortcut approach that yes, there needs to be a firmness, and let the firmness be driven more by the guy who is causing infirmness. So a lot of time this argument is being made that renewable industry is the cause of this problem and let them treat at their end, but it may lead to a higher tariff. If we look at the storage bids in Gujarat, there are winners like Gensol. There are winners like maybe somebody from the mobility sector. They are the ones who will never participate in FDRE bids. But for storage, they can give the best tariff. So if we go by that logic, there are people who may be expert only in wind, there are people who may be expert only in one form, and that will bring down the best tariff.
Yeah, right. So I think keeping in that track itself, as you said, the firmness. So there is another thought around the room, and especially the higher corners of the room, where we are talking about we have reached 20% of renewables in the energy mix, right? So more from that perspective, Akshay, what would be the right energy mix, or should the country wait, or should we start moving to market-linked RE procurement at some form? And CFD could be a new way, or a kind of a starting mechanism just to give enough experience to both buyers and procurers, both buyers and generators to do that. But eventually, the capacity needs to be added based on a certain market-linked prices and can't be a must-run forever, right? So what's your thought? And again, what's the recommendations for SECI?
So see, I do think that question is relevant, but a few years down the line. I think at about 15 to 18% of the energy mix, we still have some way to go before we deliberate on that question. I mean, some very eminent stats tell us that we've been adding about anywhere between 20 to 25 gigawatts of renewable capacity every year, and in energy terms, that's about about 2% of energy of India's energy consumption. So I think we are some time away from actually deliberating on that decision. But as my fellow panelists have mentioned, the new products or the new offerings that we as renewable developers are able to offer, I think will make the answer to that question a lot more simpler when the time comes. And I actually am in total agreement with Parag as well. I think the whole act of providing firmness to renewable power may be better served by those specialists. Unfortunately, when we do it at our end, A, the cost of capital becomes slightly different. B, many developers doing the same storage activity is inefficient for the system as a whole. It's better served by a central system. So, I think we are fortunate to begin the era of renewable becoming more firm through various configuration measures, and very soon we will come to that question. But I think it's some time away. Let us hit the 50% mark first.
Sure. So you're advocating storage to be kind of centrally managed in that sense, whereas or somebody else manages, or
I'm just saying it's lighter on capital, it's lighter on our use of materials, is lighter on land. So if you see it from all these perspectives, it probably does make sense. But look, I mean, we are happy to take the contracts as well. I mean, we are one of those platforms. We are capitalized close to $600 million. So we are happy to take that. But at the end of the day, we are all Indians and we need to think about the larger good.
Right. Thank you. And then that leads to, I think Akshay also alluded to that we are just adding 2025 historically, whereas the promises and as well as the requirement is somewhere around 40 to 50 gigawatt of renewables year on year, right? So more from that perspective, it's a concerted efforts from centers, states, everyone, and the developers as well. So what's your views and recommendations again on that perspective? Because the nation needs that capacity, 40 to 50 gigawatts. So what should be done more from that perspective to do that?
First of all, let me take the opportunity to congratulate SECI for their 13th racing day. And SECI has turned teenage. And SECI has also turned Navratna company. That means SECI has got a lot of financial powers. Giving money to a teenager is certainly a risk. So SECI has to be more vigilant now. But I'm sure that the kind of leadership that SECI has got, that SECI will certainly manage the money that is going to be in their hands well to support and promote the renewable energy sector to the next level that you had been asking. So I'm sure that we are certainly looking at larger targets, and I have seen SECI growing from its birth. I am in this sector for the last 14 years, so we have started with our small bits from the NVVN stage, and that is where we felt the need for SECI to be brought in as a single independent agency to take the RE sector forward. So SECI had been the leader in this REIA, if I can call it, and then we brought in more players as the REIA, but SECI has taken us forward to larger capacity addition in the sector. And we have seen the growth that has happened from pure solar to pure wind, and then various forms of renewable energy to make the renewable energy available on 24/7 basis. So to answer your question on the capacity addition, I firmly believe that we we need to look at a 50 gigawatt capacity as a good capacity addition target. But early days we had lot of assurance. If it is a SECI project, there were lenders ready to support that project, finance that project, because SECI was offering the financial guarantee for that type of projects. Compared to the states where the financial security was not there with the PPAs. But today in the current circumstances, with the kind of financial security that is offered by all the DISCOMs, SECI has got major challenges. SECI or NTPC or SJVN or NHPC all are offering the same kind of security, but the same kind of security is being offered by the state DISCOMs through the payment security mechanism. So SECI has got major challenges in hand, and SECI also has got major competitors in the bidding sector. But we are all there for anybody who is offering us good PPAs, good bidding parameters. We are there, but the sector is there to take 50 gigawatt every year. We as the developers are there to take whatever bids are coming in the way. We are there to bid for these capacities, and we will support the 500 gigawatt capacity that is available to meet in 2030.
Thank you. And to SECI, I think there is, what it says is there is always a business case for you to become a developer and compete with them. So yeah, I think with that, so there is of course, again, a round of debate there that we need coal to meet our demands, and as well as keeping aside energy security, and as well as India's growth trajectory to be at the higher rate. Now, so what's the need of coal over the 2035-40 horizon? And is there a restriction to be applied there? And is this going to dampen the momentum of procurement of renewables by the states? So no better than you can answer, Amit, given I think both the roles your organization is playing.
Yeah, I'm not sure why you thought I could be the best person to answer, but I'll try. Look, I think I want to reflect on some of the comments made earlier on the, the integration or bundling or not bundling. I think we should always look at the system level, and the evacuation cost has to be factored in these kind of topics. And we have been advocating hybrid structures to be co-located as well, so that we have solar and wind in the same place. And that gives efficiency for cost of transmission lines and lowers the cost for the end consumer. So that is something which, if you ask, should become more permanent in the design structures of tenders which should come out. But reflecting on the question you asked, I think if you look at the peak demand and look at the solar generation and the profile, it's very clear that the country will require a lot of power, and that has to come from all kinds of sources. And when we talk about God level constraint, I think the first God level constraint is the affordability and the cost of power. I don't think we should compromise with that. And we can invest in storage, but we have to be mindful in what proportion and what speed, and to move to peak power. But we firmly believe that there is need and requirement for all kinds of power, including the thermal power. And the projections for the country is very solid, and we should not create a deficit situation in the country as well. But one thing which I would strongly advocate, and I think was discussed earlier in the morning, is RPO obligations, which are taken by the states. They should be adhered to, they should be complied with. And I think if there's a far more compliance on the RPO trajectory, that gives a line of sight to renewable companies as well, to invest, to plan for the future, and continue to develop projects. There was a very interesting comment made a few days ago by Mr. Tarun in RE Invest, and he said he wants to encourage developers to invest in projects without a contract, without a PPA, and then sell the power down at some point to consumers. And I think that's a great idea. That's a great thought. That is something which I feel has to be explored and discussed as well in this forum. How that can be enabled. That will also allow RE developers to find a new way of developing projects and moving forward.
Sure, I take that thought. And Vikram, I think question to you on I think what Amit also alluded. I think storage can effectively kind of not replace, but probably a little bit of a displacement can happen in terms of not adding coal. And given the prices which we have discovered in the recent tenders, what should be the strategy going forward, more from that perspective? How do the states, because we've seen a huge amount of response from the states coming in just for the last couple of months, but still there are a lot of states who needs to catch up. So what should be the strategy more from SECI's perspective to kind of push that forward, or that agenda forward of procuring standalone storages by each and everyone, and then try and balance renewables and try and balance the peak, at least the non-solar hour peak with that?
So look, I think while today is a day of celebration, it can also be a day of reflection. So I think there are three things that I wanted to just bring to the notice from, or at least from our vantage point, right? One, I think, is as a country, we are seeing the backlog of PPAs increasing, right? I think, and we need a mechanism to ensure that that backlog doesn't go beyond a certain threshold, because then it has an implication on how companies take further decisions, right? And there, I think there's a good idea around pooling of tariff. How do we accelerate putting that into action? There was a thought in the state session where people were worried about the 7 paisa, and maybe that's driving their buying behavior. But SECI moving to doing some more state-specific bids, maybe giving them, if I may use the word, a bit of a discount, to encourage them to sign those PPAs faster. I think that is one element that is crucial from an industry standpoint, because these numbers, if I put all REIs together, is now north of 30 gigawatts or so. Second thing I would say is that, look, our PPAs have to evolve to keep the current reality of the sector and the evacuation out of the substation. If that is getting delayed, that risk still sits with the developer. Basically, my asset would therefore be curtailed, and in certain cases, that curtailment could be significant. This is one simple example of, we need to ensure that risks which can not be managed by the developer are not passed on to the developer, and they are appropriately reflected into the PPAs. And the third set of things I would say is that, look, last year almost 500 gigawatts of renewable energy got executed in the world, right? We did 15 out of it, right? China alone did 250. So while we have a lot to celebrate, but we also need to reflect, how will this 15 to 50 journey for us happen? And today the biggest challenge for a developer is on-ground execution. Now I know that is not directly the purview of SECI, but to my earlier comment with the Navratna status and the more enhanced influence that SECI will have in the power sector in the whole space, I think simple things like approval timelines, the con approvals, and how much time it has begun to take to connect a constructed asset into the grid has been on the uprise, right? The right-of-way issues on the ground are becoming more and more complex, right? And all this adds cost, which eventually gets passed on by a developer to the end buyer, right? So while we are all focused upon transmission losses, there are a lot of these inherent inefficiencies in the way we do projects in this country, which limit that number to 15, 20, which is far below par to what India as a nation is capable of, right? So I think I would put those 2-3 reflections on the table.
Oh, that's brilliant insights, and I'm sure somebody is taking notes of that. Latch on to that last particularly comment that as a country we are much more capable than adding 20-25 gigawatt, looking at China, what's they're adding. Now, Parag, I think traditionally or historically, what we have seen is the concept of solar parks has worked well for us in adding huge amounts of capacities. So, any thoughts and recommendations on policies to identify large parcels of land and land and to cut down on approvals? If there are any suggestions around that, would love to hear.
Yeah, sure. So if you see this year, we have done almost 6 gigawatt of solar since the start of financial year. And we say that this year will be 25 gigawatt plus year for solar in India. That's the prediction that our association and NSFI is making. And one of the key reason is that there is a large solar park which is expected to commission in this year. And out of this 25, 30 gigawatt, 4-5 gigawatt in one go might come from Khavda. So imagine if we have such more solar parks, how easy it will be for us to reach to a 50 gigawatt mark. Coming to land and the importance of land, in CII we conducted a study through McKinsey asking them to highlight the key issues. And they made a very good comment. They said that India has some 16.1 million hectares of barren land. And only 0.5 million barren land is required to meet our 2030 target. So why this is not getting done, and best way to do it is through SNAs. So MP has done twice in form of RUMS 1 and RUMS 2. Karnataka has done it in Pavagada, but lately somehow the things are moving slow on that ground. So once a private entity can develop Khavda, why government can't identify large pieces of barren land and do similar solar parks as Khavda across the country, and this will really lead to a much significant faster ramp up as compared to what it is happening today.
Yeah, completely aligned, and that gives actually the preparation time also to go back to the utilities and sign the PPAs, and there could be, I'm saying, less number of unsigned PPAs.
And just to add, there can be two forms. One is the RUMS form where they call for the bid for tariffs. So that includes the substation, land and entire thing. Right. The other could be just land. You bid out the land. You collate the barren land and bid it out and let it be to the industry to do the rest.
Sure. Okay, perfect. Right, my next question to Akshay. So I think hydro being a state subject, whereas we also require as a country, and again from energy security perspective, development of pump storage projects as well. So what could be SECI's role in that? Would you like to respond to that? How can we accelerate development of PSPs? Of course, there is a PSP policy which is under draft, but particularly so focusing on SECI, if there is any role which they can play.
SECI has played a commendable role in uplifting renewable as a sector in India. And I don't see why the same role can't be played when it comes to incentivizing and motivating PSP developers. Which means that sitting today, SECI could get into some kind of bidding mechanism for off-taking a certain capacity from PSP projects. And then offering that in its renewable tenders, whether they are FDRE or peak power, at a certain margin. So given the certainty of offtake that it offers to the PSP developers, I think that will really motivate some of the developers who are sitting on the edge, thinking today, can I be competitive with batteries 6 years down the line? The PSP developer has only one question in mind. 6 years down the line, will I be competitive with battery? Because that's the cost curve that the battery is going through. But if SECI can give that confidence that we are signing up to that offtake arrangement and then passing it on in their renewable only contracts to the other developers, I think that's a critical role that SECI can play right now.
Sure, and definitely more thoughts needs to be going there as SECI as well, how to innovate and come out with something. But moving on to the Kishore as well, and moving on to something else in the sense like it's not only, of course, the major capacity will be added through solar itself going forward, but there are other forms of renewable energy which equally needs to be facilitated and as well as promoted. And one of the aspects I think would like to hear from you is there any suggestions what SECI could play in promoting all forms of alternate forms of renewable energy, including biofuels and other things. And also, there is a live tender which is going on in green ammonia, and probably the world's largest one from that perspective. So, what support do you anticipate from SECI to ensure the success, especially when we know that there is a likely bridging of cost gap which needs to be done between the grey and green ammonia, more from the off-taker's perspective?
Thank you, Anish. First of all, I would like to know whether the name of the SECI still remains as Solar Energy Corporation of India, or are we changing the name? I know that about 5 years back, when SECI moved from pure solar to wind also, there was a proposal that it should be changed to RECI, that is Renewable Energy Corporation of India. So I think this is the right time that you can still maintain the word SECI.
Sustainability.
Sustainable energy.
As you have done it for SPDA.
SPDA, absolutely right, Parag. So you can still maintain that name as Sustainable Energy Corporation of India. And so that is my suggestion, that you still need to look at that. SECI certainly has matured from pure solar to other sorts of renewable energy. So we moved from solar to wind, and then to hybrid, to RTC, and then to FDRE, and all sorts of energy has been handled through SECI. So this is the right time that SECI should move into all sorts of renewable energy. And with the kind of Navratna status that is awarded to you, it is the right time that SECI should get into more parts of renewables. Like you talked about hydro, I would suggest that SECI should own up the storage part, as maybe SECI can be a developer to own the hydro projects, because hydro projects are not always available for as a developer model. It is better that you can maybe be a developer model and then sell the storage part to other forms of energy, other forms of renewable energy, and then combine it as a complete solution to the other developers or to the procurers. So that is one part of it. Second, coming on to the hydrogen part, I think SECI is rightly placed to be part of being the other part of energy sources like hydrogen or methanol. And we were part of the team that was formed to finalize the bidding guidelines for the green hydrogen, and SECI was actively participating in that. And I am certainly looking forward to the outcome of the SECI's bid for the first green hydrogen project, and that will certainly put a benchmark price for the green hydrogen to be sold in India as well as in the outside world. Today, everybody is setting up projects for green hydrogen, looking at the external world, that is the global world, particularly for the Europe, which is looking at CBAM and then the green energy for the green hydrogen market that is available in India. And then if you are looking at the total capacity for India is roughly about 5 million tons of green hydrogen. That is the target set for India. And if you look at the total demand for the Europe, we may not be even meeting the requirements that India has committed to meet the European requirements. So we certainly need to look at the Indian market, and that is where we need to have developing the Indian domestic market for the green hydrogen or green methanol or biofuels. That is where SECI will certainly play a very crucial market. And once we have some sort of obligation that is put for the domestic industries like the oil refineries or the fertilizer sector or the transport sector, that will certainly help SECI to also find some customers who can buy the products that SECI is coming up with, the green hydrogen or green ammonia or green methanol products. I'm sorry, I have a bad throat. So I certainly look forward to SECI taking an active role in producing and marketing the green products in the green energy sector.
Thank you so much. So one thing is clear: everyone wants more of SECI, and it's time for you to probably do some visioning exercise, strategy exercise, corporate plan.
Anish, we need to give a lot of credit because today SECI is one of the most bankable names when it comes to both domestic and international lending institutions.
Absolutely.
And that's a very credible achievement to have in about 10 years of existence. And I can only encourage that SECI leverages that to motivate more sustainability related sectors such as even green hydrogen, PSP, capacity. If all of that can be somehow incentivized through SECI being the counterparty, I think it will do the entire sustainability efforts of the country a lot of good.
Absolutely aligned. And last question to the panelists and as well as the audience. Audience, you have one question, of course, to the panelists. One or two questions we can take. But just one last question to any one of you. I think we can talk about capacity additions, but what most needed is what could be the measures adopted for the states and the utilities to be more decisive in executing the long-term contracts, which Vikram also mentioned, that's kind of backlog is there. So one, of course, thought is resource adequacy, which CE has, of course, come out with, but enforcing it or any other measures which you can think of as audience and as panel. So over to the panel first. Anyone? Because I think everyone is struggling with that. So any thoughts on that? That will be a welcome move. And
Gujarat developing short-term, medium-term, long-term procurement plan. That is something which can be replicated across the utilities. So that is one. And secondly, maybe there should be some regulations which measures the quality of supply of power. And it is yet to see that utilities are getting penalized if there is a backing down of power on account of they not being procuring power on time.
Maybe I can add on to that. See, we are all talking about a lot of pending PPAs, and we have made the suggestions earlier to SECI as well as to MNRE also that we should look forward to substation-based bidding, because this is an area where even CTU is also struggling to find the substations and the connectivity for providing to the RE developers. So if SECI can have a pre-bid tie-up with the procurers, so that a particular bid which is substation based will be given, the power will be given to the concerned DISCOMs or the procurer. That will certainly ease up some of the pressures that is today on the IPPs and the REIAs and the CTU system to come up with a successful bidding. Because there is no point in having the bids completed today and saying that we have achieved the 50 gigawatt target capacity for this year when 40 gigawatt PPAs are still pending to be signed. So this is only going to add up more pressure on the REIAs to sign the balance pending PPAs. Even all the upcoming PPAs or the upcoming bids, we are not sure whether we are going to sign the PPAs or not. So this is a major concern for all of us. So wherever the capacity is available in the substation, if the new bids can come up with substation-based bidding, that will certainly ease the pressure on REIAs as well as the developers.
Thank you.
And building on the work that has already been done. So though it was a small session, जहाँ तक समय की बात है, but we'll keep reflecting on these thoughts and thank you very much for sharings. Ladies and gentlemen, now may I please invite Director Solar, Shri Sanjay Sharma ji, to kindly present tokens of appreciation and respect for each of our panelists who joined us here today. So thank you very much for joining us here. Shri Amit Singh ji, Shri Vikram Kapoor ji, Shri Kishore Nair, Shri Akshay Hiranandani, Shri Parag Sharma और हमारे moderator Anish ji, सभी का आभार. So please put your hands together for all of our esteemed speakers who were a part of this wonderful panel. Thank you very much to each of our speakers. the panel discussion on the project Developer's Perspective. Thank you very much. So, token of gratitude and thanks for your time, efforts, the ideas that all of us shared. And for the moderator, Shri Anish Mandalji, you conducted the session really well. Thank you very much for being a part of this wonderful panel discussion which you moderated. So once again, a big round of applause for all our panelists and for the moderator. We'll have a group picture. And after the group picture, all of us will move into the next session, which is on the role of financiers in the renewable energy sector. सभी से रिक्वेस्ट है हमारे सभी स्पीकर्स से. So we would like to request you all to kindly please stay back for the next session if that's possible. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll be moving on to the next session now. As we just heard this wonderful session, we're looking forward to some wonderful sharings in the next one as well. The role of financiers in the renewable energy sector cannot be overstated, as they provide the necessary capital and resources that enable projects to come to fruition. Their perspectives are vital in assessing the risks, structural financial models, and ensuring that investments align with both economic and environmental goals. Financiers bring a wealth of knowledge and experience, helping to navigate the complexities of funding mechanisms, regulatory requirements, and market dynamics. Their support fosters innovation by encouraging developers to explore new technologies and approaches. As we move forward in our journey towards sustainable energy future, the collaboration with financiers will remain crucial in unlocking the potential of renewable energy in India, ensuring that we can meet our ambitious targets while driving economic growth and environmental stewardship. So, inviting our panelists for this session, may I please request Shri Vivek Kumar Devangan, CMD REC, to please join us. जोरदार तालियों के साथ अभिनंदन. Shri PK Das, CMD IREDA, to please join us on the stage. Shri Moiz Sharif, India Energy Lead from World Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for all of our panelists. Shri Ashok Sharma, Deputy MD from SBI. बहुत-बहुत स्वागत, Shri Ashok Sharma. May I invite Ms. Lavina Quadros, MD of Jefferies India, and the moderator for this session, Shri Mukul Modi, EVP and Group Head from SBI Caps. So a big round of applause for all our panelists and for our moderator. And since this is an equally important discussion where the role of financiers will be discussed, we're really looking forward to some interesting perspectives which we will be hearing now. So over to the moderator, Shri Mukul Modi ji, to kindly please take over the proceedings and begin the deliberations from here. Over to you.
Thanks to SECI for inviting us, and also congratulations on their Foundation Day, 13th Foundation Day. So we have an esteemed panel, and so let me start with my left only and start with Mr. Das. So, sir, congratulations on your newfound, Navratna status, and your, the premier organization and devoted almost entirely to the renewable sector. So, we would like to hear from you that what are your plans going forward and supporting the sector in a bigger way. You're already supporting, but in a bigger way is the question, and how you are building capacity internally, and especially to tackle the, because there are now various themes. Earlier it was simply wind, simply solar, then there's now interplay, hybrids coming up, then the industry is also asking for financing. It's not just wind and solar, so there are end user industries also involved, be it The metal side could be a user, oil and gas, and so on and so forth. So just like to hear your views on that.
Thank you. Very good morning to all, and thanks SECI management, Gupta ji, and other team members. Actually, we had a board meeting today scheduled in the morning. Because of SECI's program, we had to reschedule it to the afternoon. And I had again requested Gupta ji that I have to leave at 1:30. So probably I will not be having that opportunity to stand among others to take a photograph at the end. But that is not important. So important, as you said, that we are almost doing all renewable. You can remove the word almost. We do only renewable, only green. And we'll continue to do that. You said about the kind of support what we have done. In last 37 years, we have sanctioned more than 2 lakh crores. And I'm talking of June data. Being a listed company, I cannot talk updated data to you now without sharing with the stock exchange. So I'm talking whatever that is of June 24. And we have sanctioned more than 2 lakh crores. We have disbursed more than 1.31 lakh crores. And if you see out of those, almost 90% has happened in last 10 years. SECI came into existence 13 years back. You all know that when any PA public sector comes into that nascent stage, 1, 2, 3 years goes like that. Practically, in last 10 years, SECI has done jet speed growth in the sector. And what we have seen, that 33 times growth of solar, had there been no SECI, probably it would not have been possible. And had there no IREDA laying the foundation stone before 37 years, this would not have even thought up in the country. So, and we are sister concern coming under same ministry. Whether SECI, RECI, IREDA, whatever, many people are saying that it change the name of IREDA, it doesn't look sound good, it gets always confused with IRDA. Well, no need to confuse. Let us grow and contribute to the nation or society so much. IRDA will be somewhere else and IREDA can go somewhere. And anyway, both are all government agencies. But it's a fact that nobody was knowing IREDA before 10 years much or even 3, 4 years. When I said in last 10 years, we have done 90% of our business of the 37 years. Out of that 10 years business, we have done 70% in last 4 years. In the country, RE has grown in last 10 years, but the 70% growth of that 10 years has happened in 4 years. Now, why I am touching that? Not because I joined 4 years back. It is not exactly the fact. Lot of changes we have done there, which is required now others to adapt to go to 500 gigawatt. Because when you were saying 50 gigawatt of bidding is to be done, we have decided that at least 50 manpower will be adding every year, at least for a couple of years. We are hardly 169 employees now, and we are around 179 employees 4 years back. So with lesser 10 employees, our business has gone 3.5 times. Certainly there is a question and doubt that if you are running at that speed, what about governance and all? We are the company in the country, in the banking, non-banking space, who reports the result fastest. And we do every quarter full audit, not limited review. That means with speed, we have that accuracy, the discipline. So we have maintaining that kind of discipline, and that is the, I think, one of the key strength of IREDA. When we are 37 years, we are originally the partnered MNRE for developing the sector. We have the expertise, no doubt about that. We have mix of 3 decades of expertise with us, officers level. We have 2 decades of expertise. We have also 3 to 4 years of expertise. Our intake, we are taking the top-notch institutes of India. See, what we need as a lender, we need to continuously improve our net worth. March 20, government infused 1,500 crore to us and 1,000 crore to SECI. In the era of disinvestment, government decided to invest with us. Why? It is a strategic reason that these are the basic things for which the organization has to grow. And we have acted very sensibly and responsibly to that. Post that, we enhanced the loan book. Post that, we went for the IPO. Just, I think, 8 to 9 months' time. Lot of talk when happened that whether the price, what it was, less, more, and up. Yeah. I'll touch that point also. When we went to IPO, we went with a lot of negative sentiment about government's IPO, particularly post LIC. After LIC IPO, ours was the first IPO to come. So with a negative sentiments towards government. Second, in the past, IREDA went twice to the roadshow level, even overseas roadshow level, then decided to not do. Third, in the renewable sector, some of the state government decided to dishonor the PPA. Fourth, multiple NBFCs were in scams, and we are an NBFC, we are from renewable. When we started with all kind of negativity, then certainly going for a fair price by the market maker would not have been possible. We tried our level best, and finally the market has tested, tried and trusted us. Now again we are going for QIP, government has approved by this year end. So we will keep on adding net worth periodically. If required every year, we will go to a market every year and raise fund. And our loan book is growing at 29% CAGR in last 4 years. Sanction and disbursement almost 50% plus. It doesn't happen in any big company. Of course, why 50%? Because our base was low. But if you see, absolute term wise also we are adding fair amount. But there is a concern by the developers and sector holders. I call them business partners actually. That the kind of demand or size and kind of expectation what from IREDA is IREDA capable to manage that with the existing resources? See, if we could do with lesser manpower, and that too during the worst time, best business, that is 2 years of COVID, and having net worth constant, all kind of governance stringent measures, so we could do and we could reach. And we are today running our business, IREDA Business Center, in a zero paper. नेट जीरो का ऑब्जेक्ट तो है, पहले हम खुद तो नेट जीरो बने. And we are reaching to almost near to zero visitor concept. During our IPO roadshow, when we traveled many countries, and most of the places we found, the bankers under they are paperless. We are also a banker. Why can't we do that? Perhaps we are the only government company in India who is doing the business without a paper. That is what Honorable PM encourages. So how it has happened? Digitization. We went for system integration. One most important thing we did, huge amount of process, procedural redundancy. When any organization become 3 decades old, lot of legacy process procedure continues. You have to relook and revisit, which in technical what you call business process re-engineering. I'm using the layman's word, process redundancy. When fair amount of process redundancy. See, mind it, being in government, we are carrying the baggage of 3C, that is CAG, CBC and CBI. We have to ensure that. Keeping all those in mind, and in addition to that, RBI is there, and now SEBI is there. So, taking cognizance all those things, we have implemented all these developmental and corrective measures in that. As far as the future is concerned, we have already committed that by 2030 we will be supporting another 5 lakh crores of financing. In fact, that 5 lakh seems to be a very small amount. We can even go much beyond that. But again, I will not talk any number, but saying a number in case of a listed company, it is not appropriate. And not only that, that is also putting a pressure on my team that we have to do this number, No. Our focus is on simple, discipline, attitude, and simplicity. And that is again backed by 3C principle: commitment, conviction, and clarity. And I'm sure in the time to come, what kind of level of expectation from the sector, from us, we are going to do that. Today, we are having a culture, whatever required for green energy, green financing, what kind of products and policies are there. If we find that something is further required to that, within the broad framework of government guideline and RBI guidelines, you tell us this product today, we'll have a policy tomorrow. That kind of practice we have initiated. And one example I'll give you. This product, a project-specific short-term loan, of course, that is prior to my joining the company. Our ex-director technical is sitting, Mr. Chintan. It was his and his team's effort. Nobody was lending the project-specific short-term loans. All these project developers, they can get the project loan. It is a kind of working capital loan. But we being a NBFC, we cannot do those working. Banks are supposed to do that. And since the sector was developing and challenging, normally banks will come when the nascent stage is over. Fair amount of certainty will be there, then banks will come. That is what we have experienced also in the last couple of years with respect to ethanol and CBG. Even today in the country, we are largest NBFC in ethanol space. Sanction more than 10,000 crore. Finance more than 5,000 crore. Not only that, the cycle time, turnaround time of application to disbursement is even smallest. So, in the time to come, whatever will be required for the sector, and since we have the advantage, another advantage, being the extended arm of MNRE, we have the opportunity of getting involved from the nascent stage of policy formulation. But with me, personally, I have the advantage. I'm ex-RECN, so my elder brother, Mr. Devangan, is here. We also closely coordinate among ourselves. And we have made an undercutted policy. Any developer or any borrower coming to us, I tell them openly from the beginning, if you have gone to RECPFC, please continue there, don't come here. And if you are coming here, then please don't go there. But don't waste each other's time. We are not competing and neither we are going to compete also. We three are government organizations. Our job is 500 gigawatt as fast as possible. We will complement each other. Our net worth is small, they have huge net worth, but we have better expertise. We can synergize. And I have already had a discussion with Devangan Sab in the past. Wherever the net worth exposure constraint will be there, we will go for joint lending with them. So the problem what we have envisaged now is, now we will not be having PPI based funding. I am taking more time, being the largest green finance company. So, no, I believe that I can speak with clarity, certain doubts. I do not know. Others are knowing much better than me also. They have the time later on. And you have to, I'll request you to stretch. Whatever more time I take, you stretch your lunch bit more. So, main concern will be, we are shifting from PPA based to shorter duration contract, 10 years. Now, the developer is setting a project of 20 years, 25 years of project life. RBI says that 80% of project life you can finance. But if you do not have a sell price, revenue known, as a lender, what you are going to do? Even today in ethanol or compressed biogas, the project life is 25 years, but we are lending them for 9 years, 10 years. Because the subsidy and incentives are to that period. But by that time, project is becoming bankable. But those projects which are not becoming bankable, if we stretch it to 15 years, that can also become bankable. It is not coming in picture, but those developers, they are struggling in that space because of that short duration. But we are again working on it, how to mitigate those things. Major challenge would be for this particularly green hydrogen and its derivative or offshore winds, where the capex will be huge and contract period will be very less for determining the price. And initial installation cost will be more. So your lending cost will be more. If the lending cost will be more, then project will not become bankable. So our target would be to bring down the borrowing cost. To bring down the lending cost, we have to bring down the borrowing cost. Now, what are the sources? So I can again say one more thing, because our elder brother is sitting here. REC, PSC are enjoying 54 EC capital gain bond. Since 4 years, I am requesting Government of India, please allow us also. Nothing. In the list only they have to put our name. And I came to know that is in advanced stage. Today, IREDA is doing 100% green. There is no benefit, nothing. Now, if everybody will do now green, we do not have a defined green taxonomy. If you are investing in green, you are not getting any separate benefit out of it. Now, banks, see, all along, because the size was small, company like IREDA could do for 36 years, 37 years, and RECPFs are doing since 4-5 years. or even 6-7 years. But the size of market requirement, 32 lakh crore till by 2030, 22 to 24 lakh crores of debt. Half of it, if you take around 12 lakh crores, will be required. Where from it will come? And we need to have a bond market. If you see globally, US data, if you see, the bond market is bigger than equity market. But in India, it is just half of it. And we have already submitted a draft paper almost 2 years back. And it is in advanced stage, I came to know. We need to have a defined green taxonomy in the country. And we have suggested major point there. 5% of AUM of those agencies like LIC or other insurance company, PF, they will be mandated to. So that initially, if you see the latest AUM, roughly 3.5 lakh crores of bond market can be generated at the initial stage. At least there will be a clear-cut defined market. If the overseas green fund houses are putting their fund, they will be getting that kind of certificate. Otherwise, what is happening? They are investing, then they have to go for certification. Again, a process, expenditure and everything. When we talk about 500 gigawatt, and we have proven to the world that India is leading from the front. And incidentally, within India, IREDA is led from the front. But now we need at least 7 to 8 or 10 IREDA in the form of PFC, REC, HUDCO, etc., in the government NBFC, plus other private NBFC. Now, we need to have a defined green taxonomy. And then we need to look into grants. If you see the global level, the grants, they get around 14%. When it comes to India, hardly 1 to 2%. We talk about India doing so great, all these developmental agencies or MDBs, all those green developed economies, now they have to prove what they are saying, what they practice in spirit. Today, our borrowing cost overseas, the landed cost is costlier than the domestic market what it is available. IREDA's composition of resource, if you see 4 years back, 57% used to be overseas, 43% used to be domestic. Last June data, 86% is domestic, 14% is overseas. And remember, since 97, IREDA is with those agencies taking the cheaper funds. Those are not becoming cheaper now because of the hedging cost and other things. To arrest that, we have decided to open, already we have got the provisional clearance of opening office in GIFT City. Very soon we will be starting the operation. At least initially, we can support to our existing developers who are going for green nitrogen or manufacturing of solar components. At least 250 to 300 bips rate reduction we can support you. And we have decided, we are formulating a policy. I'm requesting you to send us your teaser. If you have some kind of project teaser of 2-pager, in what terms and conditions you are expecting from us. There will be lending you in foreign currency and borrowing in foreign currency, so that natural hedging will happen. We have already requested to Government of India to consider Government of India guarantee fees reduction, or if not 0, at least 0.1 or 2, instead of 0.5 to 1.2, some amount of saving can be done. So through this process of 3 measures, defined green taxonomy, so that there will be bond market, some concessional fund will be, maybe some 5-10 bips, 50 bips, 54 EC, some again 10-15 bips, and then GIFT City, 300 bips. If you make sigma of it, around 400 bips of reduction we can make it. That is a big and huge amount, and that is going to support particularly those industries which is in the nascent stage. For wind, solar, hydro, I don't think we require any rebate or discount or anything like that. But yes, 20 years back, generation-based incentive and other incentive used to be there. Same thing is required again for green hydrogen and offshore wind, etc. to do that. World Bank is sitting here, I have already told them earlier, they also have to revisit their process, procedural and appraisal methodology. If same IREDA, which was taking 6 months, can bring down to 2 to 3 months, why not World Bank, which they were taking 1 year at least, can bring down to 6 months? Because we are living in 20 years back, the kind of digitization in India, today we are quite different. Our organizational corporate governance, not only in government space, country level has quite improved. So all the corporates, they have to work hard to ensure their corporate governance, they maintain a better rating, so that we borrow at cheaper rate, then we can lend you at a cheaper rate also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
My apology, I have to leave now.
Thank you for your time, and a big round of applause for Shidas.
May I please request Director Finance, Shri Joshit Ranjan ji, to please acknowledge the presence of.
100 times he has requested me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here, sir. Thank you. And we'll continue the proceedings of the session.
IREDA was the first company to assign them a work of project management consultancy. Through that, they started their business.
Metering sector, in the transmission sector, where you feel, because green, renewable energy and other green measures, they are not just only about one source, they are also about integrating all of this together. So how do you think the policy can help in integrating all this? And second follow-up question would be that what sources of financing you yourself are planning to tap so as to lend in a wider way as well as probably reduce the cost of funds?
Let me first congratulate Solar Energy Corporation of India Limited on their foundation day and also becoming Navratna company. REC has special connect with Solar Energy Corporation of India Limited because REC was one of the first institute to finance SECI on their solar light project when they had started their renewable energy related initiative. We are happy to see SECI becoming a Navratna company. Now, let me just give you a brief overview of the overall development which is happening in the power sector. Post-COVID, after economic revival, the power demand has been increasing consistently. Last 2 financial years, power demand has increased by about 8 to 9%. And as we aspire to become a developed country by the year 2047, our power consumption is also going to increase substantially. Right now, per capita consumption of electricity in India is only 1/3 of the world average. And per capita emission of carbon dioxide is also 1/3 of the world average. As we aspire to become a developed country, our per capita consumption of electricity will also increase substantially. Our carbon emission will also peak as the consumption of electricity increases. Like, for example, like USA, their per capita consumption of electricity is about 10 to 12 times of the world average. In our pursuit to become a developed country, our carbon emission will also increase, but not to the extent of other developed countries because we have adopted a sustainable development path. As committed by India during Glasgow COP26, we are targeted to become a net zero by the year 2070, and we are committed to install about 500 gigawatt of installed electricity capacity from non-fossil fuel based sources. The development of the renewable energy sector has to be supported by both Ministry of Power and Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and I must compliment that both the ministries have taken proactive steps to develop the ecosystem for renewable energy sector growth in the country. Like Ministry of New and Renewable Energy has come up with this production-linked incentive for solar PV module manufacturing. Then green hydrogen mission has been launched with an outlay of more than 19,000 crore. Ministry of Power is also playing a very crucial role in improving the operational and financial efficiency of the distribution company. Until unless the distribution company's health is good, the entire generation and transmission sector is dependent on distribution sector because the revenue is collected by the DISCOMs. I must compliment Ministry of Power that they had introduced revamped distribution sector scheme and followed by late payment surcharge rules. This has really improved the discipline, financial discipline among the distribution companies, so much so that the government department dues are getting cleared in a predefined trajectory. The legacy subsidy dues are also getting liquidated. I hope that by the end of March 2026, all the legacy subsidy dues, government department dues, the dues of generating companies, the transmission company will also get liquidated. And last two and a half years, this liquidation of these dues, we have seen more than 50-60% dues have already been cleared. So much so that the state governments have started paying the subsidy to the DISCOMs quarterly in advance. For Example, like for Q2, they had paid subsidy in Q1. The Prapti portal has played a very crucial role, particularly for renewable energy generators. The moment renewable energy generators puts their dues in the Prapti portal, they have to clear, the DISCOMs have to clear their dues. And if their dues are not paid in time, the power starts getting regulated. This has brought in a lot of discipline. The cash flows to the generating companies has really improved. Now, the revamped distribution sector scheme has helped in bringing down the AT&C losses. Last 1 year, the AT&C losses have come down from 22% to 15.8%, and it's our endeavor to bring it down to about 12%. The prepaid smart meter is going to play a role of real game changer, because the collection and billing efficiency of distribution companies would be improved substantially with the installation of prepaid smart meters. We have to install about 25 crore prepaid smart meters in next 2 years. And I'm happy to share with you that REC is playing a very active role in propagation of these prepaid smart meters. Now coming to the financing part of the renewable energy sector, since renewable energy is intermittent in nature, we need to have balancing power which comes from the coal-based capacity. So we have to think about how to provide 24/7 quality and reliable power to the consumers. We cannot solely depend on renewable energy sources until unless we develop commercially viable storage solution, be it battery energy storage or pump storage projects. And pump storage project would be preferable option for the country, because in battery energy storage, we become dependent on the import of the battery because we don't have control over the lithium ion resources. REC has taken a proactive role to finance the entire value chain of the renewable energy sector, be it solar projects, wind projects, hybrid solar wind projects, storage solution, battery energy storage or pump storage hydro projects, solar module manufacturing, wind turbine manufacturing, electric mobility and associated charging infrastructure, new technology area like green hydrogen, green ammonia. We have been financing all these projects. In fact, last year during G20 Energy Transition Working Group meeting in Goa, we had organized Green Finance Summit, and we were able to sign MOUs worth about 2,85,000 crore with the RE developers, OEMs, and all the technology providers. And I'm happy to share with you that out of this 2,85,000 crore MOUs which we had signed in July 2023, we already sanctioned projects more than 1,75,000 crore so far. And on the sidelines of RE Invest Summit in Gandhinagar from 16th to 18th of September, we have been able to sign MOUs worth 1,12,000 crore, again covering the entire value chain of renewable energy projects. And we are committed to provide customized solution to RE developers. Depending on the requirements, we also introduce products like letter of undertaking, letter of comfort to meet their requirement. And we are in constant touch with the developers to provide them their customized solution for their financing requirement, be it fund-based or non-fund-based requirement be there.
Thank you, sir. In the interest of time, if you permit, I'll move to the next speaker. And my question to Shri Moise is that World Bank has been in the forefront of development. So where do you see the capacity building gaps in the RE sector in India, and how you are planning to address them financially or otherwise? Basically, mainly on the capacity building. For example, when we go and try and help developers finance, technical expertise is one area where we see some gaps are there. So similarly, what are the areas, and mostly around capacity building, if you can focus your answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this session. And I would like to start by congratulating SECI on this its Foundation Day. So with regards to the question, so the World Bank, of course, always, whenever we finance a project or technology, we provide technical assistance. It comes with it. So I'll try to give a few examples. I think many of you will have heard of the development policy financing, the two phases of $1.5 billion that we provided over the last 2 years, supporting the government's green hydrogen mission. We accompany that with technical assistance in green hydrogen, supporting the technology, providing some policy advice to the government, and supporting some pilot projects. So that's one example. So apart from this, the development policy financing, we have a portfolio of close to $3 billion in the energy sector in India. For example, in that portfolio, we support together with SBI or through SBI a rooftop solar program. So there as well, we have provided technical assistance in the state of Madhya Pradesh, for example. We have helped to identify good sites for solar plants. I mean, this is separately from the rooftop program. I'll give maybe one more example, of course, that we saw earlier. My colleague presented is with SECI, the solar 100 megawatt plant that comes with battery storage. So there as well, we provided some technical assistance on setting up the hybrid tendering documents for such hybrid technology. So these are just some, a few examples. I could give more, but I think in the interest of time, since I think everyone is getting hungry, I'll stop there.
So thank you for your views. And coming to Shri Ashok Sharma, sir, just would like to know from you, how do you feel we can improve bankability of RE projects in general from a lender's perspective?
If you allow me, before we come to the question, इस जन्म महोत्सव पर मैंने थोड़ा एक जिंगल लिखने की कोशिश करी. रोटी कपड़ा और मकान जीवन में लाते मुस्कान, साथ में यदि आ जाए बिजली और बिजली चलत वाहन, तब जिंदगी में आए पूर्ण मुस्कान. सेकी ये काम करता है, सेकी मतलब पूर्ण मुस्कान. आपने सुना टीनेजर, उसके बाद शादी.com, उसके बाद पूर्ण मुस्कान. So how do we see this whole story? So if you allow me, I want to handle another issue. Normally we have this concern whether we have the adequate money in the country to support the aspirations. One of the fundamental questions. See, if you look at how much is the money we have, this All India Scheduled Commercial Bank borrowing number, if you look at it, roughly the number is around 168 lakh crore as in July. If you add the NBFC lending, this is another 30 lakh crore. If you add the corporate bond market, roughly another 22 lakh crore. So 170, 30, 20, this is around 220 lakh crore. This is the stock, if I say. How much money is coming per year? 2013-14, roughly I have a data, I just took it. It is around 14 lakh crore. Out of this 14 lakh crore, how much is the money which came foreign sources? 2.20 lakh crore, that is 16%. Come 23-24, the total flow of the money to commercial sector, 35.10 lakh crore in 1 year, 35.10. And the foreign sources 2.01, that is 5.75%. So are we meeting the needs from the domestic sources, or are we meeting from the foreign sources? The data you can understand very well. Second part, that whether as a country are we able to lend long term. If you look at the books of the banks in housing loan sector, see when you go to any bank, as a young person, 25, the bank is happy to give a loan up to 60. So 30, 35-year loan easily you get. This book for the banking system is around 35 lakh crore. So that means banks are not reluctant to lend long. They are happy. 35 is not a small book. And this I have given only the housing loan. Other sectors if you add, it will be much larger. Second part, are we costly? So suppose you were to borrow in foreign currency. So you borrowed, if I pick up the number, SOFR plus 1%, let us say, 5% plus 1%, 6%. And if you take a 15-year money, another 7% you add the hedging cost. So 6 plus 7, 13%. So that means if you were to borrow the longer term money from the overseas sources, it doesn't work out to be cheaper unless your revenues are in dollar. Here, my RE sector, the revenues are not in dollar. You are not getting a dollar PPA. So money is available, money is cheap, it is available in plenty. So where are the issues? So far, we have done 200 gigawatt. So if you do just ballpark calculations, 200 into 5, 10 lakh crore, 75 debt equity, 75, 25, 7.5 lakh crore. So 77.5 lakh crore has already been made available into the country. And see, as a bank, I am facing a different challenge. There's so much of money chasing RE, no one comes to us. Challenge is not non-availability of money. Why I gave you all this data, the money has never been a challenge. And we have to generate domestic money, not the overseas money. Our formalization, as you know, is around 56-60%. So there is a plenty of opportunity for us to generate more domestic money. And आप अमीर अपने ही पैसे से बनना पड़ेगा. You cannot become rich using overseas money. Please. If you look at our earlier, I don't know, some of you may be knowing, by up to 1000 AD, we were having 29% share in global GDP. 1700 AD came down to 24%. 2024, 3.6%. We have aspirations for 2047. So can we go back to those 24, 29% numbers? I do not know. But I can tell you as a banker on behalf of all the banks in the country, the availability of money, I do not see a challenge. We all are sitting at surplus SLR money and tons of it. I just don't want to quote, but availability of money has not been a challenge. Funding for the RE has been a challenge only in terms of the pricing. Nothing else. I think all those friends from the RE sector were sitting, they may be knowing, sir, REC, ये वाला भाव दे रहा है, can you match that? All of us. So we all struggle, whether it's a timeline, tenor, 20 or 21 year, or the amount. Amount is not an issue. I think those of you who are familiar with the banking, now the country is doing a very large size project. One project, the Delhi-Mumbai Expressway, which happened, 1 lakh crore. Another Nagpur-Mumbai, 56,000 crore. Another SPCL Rajasthan refinery, 72,000 crore. So size-wise, tenor-wise, amount-wise, I don't see a challenge. The only challenge to me as a banker is to get the right price. Mukul, did I cover the questions that you asked?
Yes, you did. You did. Thank
So
you.
I conclude here. I think this was more relevant, so that I thought I will share this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. And to give a different spin now, and what is keeping a lot of people interested of late is the capital markets.
Oh, yes.
And given your long expertise and areas of interest, and many people have got recently. So just very briefly, your views on the, the power sector in general, the outlook, the valuations, as well as the forthcoming IPOs of some of the renewable players, because here our focus is renewables and there is hardly any listed renewable stock except for one or two in India. Rest are all, conglomerate, thermal, renewable combined. So very briefly, and we'll all like to gain from your vast experience in the equity markets.
I guess everyone's hungry, so I'll make this quick. Just to start off, firstly, I'd like to actually thank SECI and the chairman for inviting us, because somewhere I find I've been doing this sector for more than 20 years now, And I find somewhere that equity investors are the last rung of the entire priority chain, right? But what has clearly changed in the last 3-4 years is I'm finding that we're getting far more representation. I'll just tell you quickly why it's important, right? Even today, when I talk to domestic investors as well as global investors, all of them come and start with, I know you've been doing the sector for more than 20 years, but we burnt our fingers in the last cycle. So I think while everyone is looking at stock market valuations today, one very important point that's getting missed is 2007, 8, 9, 10, correct? So for me, what I like is, and what I tell those investors is, SECI had a very big role to play. So for example, what are investors really looking for? They're looking for policy continuity, they're looking for policy stability, they're looking for certainty. So one thing SECI has brought into the system, and they've dealt with two very important issues. Of course, payment and complete clarity on pricing for 25 years. So for me, those two are aspects that are clearly taking the sector forward. Beyond SECI, for me, must-run status for renewable in India. That is answering a lot of questions. Like globally, I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but renewable energy prices are actually negative. And people are actually have to pay if they are producing surplus power. So I think SECI is very conscious of this, and they're making efforts to make sure that there aren't only plain vanilla contracts. So just coming to your question, for me, while a lot of stocks look very expensive, I still think there's a long way to go as long as policy stability, continuity is there. And current issues, like very relevant issues, were raised by some of the panelists, right, on the development side. So as long as those are addressed, I don't see why this party should end. So, yeah. I'll stop here. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. So, time for one question from audience if somebody wants to ask a panelist. Else we'll just wrap it up. So I think we'll wrap up the panel discussion. Thanks to all the panelists, and thanks to SECI for inviting all of us.
Thank you very much for that wonderful discussion that all of us just heard and enjoyed. And before we actually conclude, may I please invite Director Finance, Shri Joshit Ranjan Sekidarji, to please present tokens of appreciation for each of our esteemed dignitaries on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, let's thank them. Shri Vivek Kumar Devanganji, बहुत बहुत आभार. Let's have a big round of applause. Thank you very much for adding value to this session with your wonderful sharings, and thank you for joining us. Thank you, Mr. Moiz Sharif, for being here with us today. So a big thank you to all our esteemed speakers who joined us here. Thank you very much. Shri Ashok Sharma ji. एक बार जोरदार तालियां होनी चाहिए सभी की ओर से. Thank you, sir, and thank you, Ms. Lavina Quadros. Thank you for being here with us. We also thank our moderator, Shri Mukul Modi ji, for moderating this session in a wonderful manner. So let us thank all our speakers and the moderator. Can we have a louder applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much. We'll have a group picture, and post that we have a special memento from Punjab National Bank for their 13 years of association. Sir, may I request you for a group picture, please?
Sorry.
Thank you very much. और अब हम रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं कि पंजाब नेशनल बैंक से जनरल मैनेजर श्री मोहित धवन जी प्लीज पधारें. And as we said that they would like to thank the wonderful association with SECI and celebrate SECI's good work in the sector. And there's a beautiful memento that they would like to present to our CMD Shri. Long, wonderful association of Punjab National Bank with SECI. Thank you very much.